Gapsiso is there, and Professor Dandara.
Ambassador, sir. Excellency.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. You're already recording your voice, so.
Yeah, they started recording.
Yeah.
But it's good. We have 12 people already. That's impressive.
His Excellency has raised the fundamental issue, and that borders on the use of social media in this election. And I think we also have to interface with that. Talking to Professor Charles Okibo now, the use of social media and the 2029 general election deserves also to be analyzed in view of the perspectives, the dimensions that starts taking now, whether negativity or positivity or neutrality, how far it has enhanced the mileage for the candidates. What about the diffusion in society? Has it built consensus or actually try to create fault lines within the polity? What are the ethicality of the use of social media in this election? This also deserves to be analyzed. Excellency.
You know, it's in my remarks this morning that this is the election in Nigeria where possibly PR and social media will be the determining factors. So it's for us researchers to analyze the respective contributions of each of those channels and come up with explanations why. If Obi happens to do better than we expect, we have to look at youth participants in the electoral process. If it doesn't do as well as we expect, we have to look at whether what they say on social media can, in fact, be related to what they actually do. So, Rotimi, you are right on the mark. And we have a team for social media. And therefore, we are giving it attention even before we end our data collection by the 24th of February. We're now 14 people, 15, many more are joining.
16.
Good. And I can see these beautiful ladies that we've been trying to capture, make sure that we hear their voices. We are happy they are responding, because very often when you organize things of this nature, it tends to have more men than women. Whereas in society, there are more women than men. So if we want to be representative, we should allow more slots for our sisters and our daughters.
Prof, thank you.
More of them are coming in.
Prof, thank you very much for that intervention.
Yes.
Give us more slots and remember to always include us.
We always do. The problem is finding those of people like you who are active. Ali Balogu, we've always known you to be active, but we need more people like you so that it doesn't look like you are the only person we favor. We favor all women equally, but we often don't find enough of them. But we will continue to encourage you because there are many constraints working against you. But we will break down all those constraints.
Thank you so much, Prof.
Dr. Omalade Atofojomo, she's the head department of broadcasting of the Faculty of Communication and Language, Media Studies of LASU. Omalade, can we meet you? Can you just let us see your face? Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir.
Omalade, where are you? Speak so that we can see you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I hope
okay.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Omalade.
Yes, sir.
In our informal assessment, LASU is leading even the older universities in terms of graduate studies and mass communication.
Yes, sir.
So you people must keep the flag flying.
We will try, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Welcome.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, sir.
Good man.
My employer in another university.
Good afternoon, sir.
My employer from the UK.
My own professor, sir.
Welcome.
Please to see you, sir.
Professor Yao Sule, you are welcome.
Thank you very much, sir.
Fellow of NIPR, a member of council. My fellowship depends on you, and Ali Balogun, and all of
You are lobbying now. We have to pay you.
Prof, you know you are long overdue, just that we've not been seeing you.
And my sister, the form has been with him for over a year now.
I know, he's my friend, I know.
I asked him to fill the form, but up to now, I have not seen the return of the form, sir.
I promise to be more responsible, socially responsible this year.
Professor Gweze has done her own.
Yes. I'm coming on board too, with your kind permission. Welcome.
SYS, how are you?
Fine, ma. Well done. Ma, you are looking good, oh. You are looking very good, ma.
Sule, why did you take these words out of my mouth? I was just going to say this.
My president.
Honestly, the president, she never looked like her age, honestly.
My president.
My sister, you are looking bam.
Well,
much younger.
My brothers from the north are looking after me.
Oh,
well,
wow.
you know we are very good carers.
You are. You are.
Yes.
You are a witness.
I'm a witness. Yes.
Yes, a living one for that matter. Good afternoon, all. My name is Mukhtar Siraju.
Our president, sir. We salute you, Chairman of
Prof,
our council.
long time. You have abandoned your brother.
No, the council is my second faculty.
Oh,
I'm coming there next week.
well, maybe you are taking care of Sule, but me, I'm complaining.
Okay, I will show up. I will report myself when I come.
Okay.
I will report myself. Sule, I hope you are bad, so Sule, please create a special Suya night for us.
Oh, you are most welcome, sir. In fact,
good day, everyone. Good day, everyone. I just wanted to know who is this feminine version of Marcel here, Marcelina.
Okay.
Good question. Where is she?
The feminine version of me here. Where is she?
Okay.
Marcelina, show your face.
Just talk so I can see your face.
Osekume.
Professor Kibo, what happened to the version of communication review that you started in Unilag?
Okay.
Let's deal with Marcel's question first, and then before we sweep it under the carpet. Marcelina, show your face.
I could see.
Advocate of Osekume.
I just want to check the NAFDAC number to be sure that name has the NAFDAC number.
Marcelina, introduce yourself.
No, anyway, it's forgiven. It's Ozekome. It's an Ozekome. So,
but who is the Ozekome? I want to know the Ozekome. That's why I
really want to know. There's Ozekome that you know.
Well, really?
Oh yeah.
Distinguished.
Is it the Ozekome of Agenepo then?
Distinguished go ahead. Let me formally, Your Excellency, with your permission, let me formally welcome distinguished panelists and participants to this very special engagement. As you can see, the house is already warm. This is what we expect when communication experts come together. I also can see that we have some of our brothers that are active in the political space. We will expect more to come. There are 27 people now. It's just 2 o'clock now, which is the time we scheduled to start. I am expecting over 100 people in the house, and there will be an exponential increase in the number of participants as we get set to commence. Our intention is to start 2 on the dot, and we would want to keep to that as much as possible. Let me kindly take us through the ground rules. First, it's important that we recognize that we're sharing this space with so many other people. And that means that what happens to our microphone is very important. And we trust that you will be kind enough to put your microphones off at all times until you are invited to speak. The next is that we would be happy when you wish to speak, if you can use the digital icon to indicate. If you check at the bottom, you will find where they said reactions. Depending on whether you're connected with your phone or your system. In the reactions, you will find a hand that says raise hand. That is the icon we expect you to click each time you want to speak. That icon is what I've activated on my screen, and I'm very sure that every one of us can see the icon by the left-hand side of my screen. We would be happy to recognize you. I am also happy to intimate us that at the beginning of the exercise, we will be taking group pictures, and also towards the end. And that at that time, we'll expect you to put on your video. Secondly, when you are invited to speak, we would expect that your video should be on, except where you have serious challenge with your network. And that means that we would expect you to intimate us you have challenge putting on your video and being able to participate in the meeting before then. Otherwise, if we recognize you to speak and your video is not on, we may have to withdraw the recognition given you, because it's communication. Since we can't see face to face, at least we want to be able to see your face. Now, I have a co-host, and that is Dr. Marcel Mbamalu, who, of course, will come in at the appropriate time. And just as the meeting progresses, either he speaks or I speak, you consider that the moderator is speaking. So I invite you to kindly recognize my co-host, Dr. Marcel Mbamalu, who is on your screen now, is of Prime Business. They hosted the first engagement we had 2 weeks ago. And that also means that Dr. Mbamalu will help us to ensure that the microphones are kept in check. I am happy, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, to say that we now have 12 more people joining us since I started my speech. And that confirms the fact that we would continue to see an increase in the number of participants. I would want to equally introduce other members of the Bureau as it were. The proceeding today will be anchored by 2 distinguished Nigerians. First is the president of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations. He's also the chairman of the Governing Council and a fellow of the Council of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, Mala Mokhtar Sirajo, who is with us. President NIPR, can you please put on your video for now? Thank you, Mr. President. The president of NIPR is now on your screen. He is not a wanted person, but just to say this is our co-chair. And this other co-chair is a man who has served as coordinator for the consortium of Nigerian communication experts, facilitating the first engagement we had. And we're happy that Ambassador Amino Wisdom is still with us as co-host today. Your Excellency, you're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the privilege.
Mr. President NIPR, I didn't allow you to speak. Sorry. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you and good afternoon all.
You're welcome. We also have, this event is organized by the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations in collaboration with those that started this whole engagement, and that is the consortium of Nigerian communication experts. That team, the convener is Professor Charles Okigbo, a renowned Nigerian expert in communication that we have now donated to the world. And we're happy that he has not forgotten us. He has been doing a lot to mentor those of us in Nigeria and on the continent. Professor Charles Okigbo, you're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, my brother Dan Daura. It's a pleasure to always be with my people.
Thank you, sir. Don't be fooled when he calls me my brother. He is actually my uncle, and he looks like he is 50-something. Don't be fooled by that. But he is still very active, and we thank you, and God will continue to keep you for us, sir. So I think that with 45 people in the house, let me confirm from His Excellency, the ambassador, who is the coordinator of this event, to kindly confirm if we can start, because it's now 9 minutes after 2. We started at 2 on the dot with my preliminary speech. Your Excellency, sir.
Thank you very much, Professor. I think we can go ahead and start because time is of essence, and I'm pleased to welcome everyone. And then okay. I request that the event should be declared open. And I think for time, in order to sustain the hours, the number of hours we have given, we have formed a quorum already, and I think we can go ahead and start. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. I think with that, we would start with the national anthem of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And it would be nice if we can respect our country by kindly standing up while the anthem will be played. Thank you so much, distinguished participants, for honoring our country. At this point, I would want again to invite us to kindly, if we don't mind, instead of calling for prayer, maybe we can recite the second stanza of the national anthem of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And that is already on our screen. May we please put on our microphone and recite this. O God,
Oh, God of creation,
Direct our noble
Let our
course.
noble cause,
Guide our
guide our
leaders
leaders
right.
right,
Help
our
our
youth
the
be
truth,
Guide our
true,
leaders
In
right.
love and honesty
to
to
love
grow.
and honesty to
love
grow,
and
Guide us
honesty to
living
grow,
just
The
and
nation
and
where
truth,
living
peace
just
and
and
United
true.
justice
States.
shall reign.
love and
Not the
honesty
in a
to
United
grow.
nation
States,
where
Build
peace
a
peace
is
nation where peace and
reign.
justice shall
and
reign.
just
Beautiful. Thank you. Next time we would appoint a choir leader so that we can synchronize our voices. And I do know that my sister, fellow Nkechali Balogun, is a good chorister and will do well doing that. Professor Kibo, I'm sure I will have your support in that regard, sir.
Definitely.
Thank you. So distinguished participants, without further delay, we would now move on to the very first item of our agenda, which will be a opening address by the convener of the Consortium of Nigerian Communication Experts. And I had initially introduced that person behind it to be Professor Charles Okibo, former registrar of the Advertising Practitioners Council of Nigeria, which is now ACON, but he has since moved beyond that and has been representing us in the United States as a leading professor and mentor of communication scholars globally. Professor Charles Okibo, you may wish to address us now, sir.
Okay, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to share a few ideas with you, my brothers and sisters in Nigeria. Each time I encounter Nigerians, I always learn something new. In the last 10 minutes, I've been fascinated by how, in the first place, how punctual we were in starting, and secondly, in beginning with our national anthem. In fact, this is the first time I'm seeing a professional group get together and begin with their country's national anthem. Always something new coming from Nigeria. And then thirdly, we all sang a stanza from that national anthem. So not only did we listen to it, but we also participated in voicing it out. There's always something new coming out from Nigeria. So my remarks today will be very, very short because we have a lot of experienced people that are here to share their experiences with us, to enrich us with what they have seen, particularly in the last 2 months of running our presidential campaign. This presidential election campaign is unlike any we have seen in the history of Nigeria, because it's now a three-way race. We're always familiar with SDP, NRC, PDP, APC. In many cases, we know that the party in government is more likely to win than not. But this year, it's different. And that's one of the things that make this election very exciting. We are lucky to be living through this period in Nigeria's history. We may have challenges at home with fuel scarcity, with Naira not being available, with PVCs missing, but Nigeria is a very great country and we should be proud of it. And we in communication owe her a duty to make sure we tell her good story instead of relying on propaganda and things that may not reflect accurately on our potentials. I use the word potentials because there is so much we can do with what we have in Nigeria. So this is now a three-way race with, in fact, the third party favored to do better than expected, according to local and international polls. One of the good things coming from this election is the use of election polls to predict who will win. Even though each party has its own pollster, there are some independent pollsters, and we are watching their results. In fact, by the end of the campaign period, I'm sure there will be a research section dealing with the use of polls. We don't have it yet, but it's in the making. And as communication teachers and researchers, we should always look out for opportunities for us to do things that we hadn't been doing before. One of them will be today, looking at the various uses of public relations and social media. And it's possible that these two media, public relations with all its various channels, and social media, which is very popular today in Nigeria, they may be the decisive factors in determining the eventual electoral outcomes this time. It doesn't look like advertising. It doesn't look like radio and television are going to play as much a role as they used to in previous elections. It looks like PR, how the parties have been carrying themselves, how they've been telling stories about their candidates, how some of the stories are reflecting character and not necessarily propaganda, and the uses of social media by various groups. You don't have to have a degree to be able to use social media in Nigeria today. So it's possible that these two factors will be decisive in who eventually wins the election. Our discussion today is one of our mixed methods research designs. For the past 7 months, many of us have been engaged in teaching ourselves various ways we can do mixed methods research. No research today is complete if it doesn't have some numbers, statistics. Even if it's just showing the frequencies. And then it must also have qualitative aspects, because research is storification. It's telling stories. And so we can't just rely on only those numbers. We must tell stories with those numbers. And we are hoping that our discussion today will yield us with additional data that can be transformed quantitatively, but more importantly, will be used to tell the stories of the campaign. So today we are happy to be collaborating with NIPR, which is one of the oldest professional associations in Nigeria. And although NIPR is anchoring it, we believe that the results we get from this discussion will benefit our 7 other research teams. The research teams on print journalism, Nuhu Gapsiso from UNIMED, you are here. The research team from broadcast journalism, from social media, headed by Osita Nemeka, print and broadcast advertising, Rotimi Olatunji from LASU, you are here. Outdoor advertising, Omo Abunene, and then Nana Worisa. I hope you are here. And then communication effects, which Danladi Musa and Nemeka Madebuna are heading. So we hope that even though we are talking about public relations, all the others will benefit from today's conversation. As the convener, my simple task is just to bring all of you together, presenters and audience members, in this comfortable environment. I'm already impressed with what we've achieved so far. I think we are approaching, is it 57 members already in the house? That's more than we expected. When we designed this, we thought we'd have about 30 of you, but you can see you've already doubled the number we expected. And we hope everybody will be ready to contribute, because we have all been witnessing the election. and we are all involved in that. And my job is to bring us together, which I have done. And having done that, I will now leave you in the good hands of the program chair, Ambassador Aminu Wisdom, who will speak next after NIPR President Malan Sirajo has welcomed us. And then, of course, I have to thank moderator, Professor Dan Daura. He has a voice of a good broadcaster, and we are always enthralled to have him as a moderator. And of course, we have to thank co-host, Dr. Mba Malo, who will give us a vote of thanks at the end. So with those few words, I'm happy to welcome us all to this great historic event that is marking our commitment to seeing our elections being discussed and being researched, so that even before the elections are over, we should be coming up with research reports. I look forward to very fruitful deliberations and active participation from all of you. Thank you so much, and God bless us all.
Thank you so much, our convener, Consortium of Nigerian Communication Experts. We appreciate you always, because you are now giving back to society, and particularly to the continent and Nigeria, to be specific, that which it has given you. You're doing that in threefold. We do appreciate and continue to pray that God will keep you for us, Professor Okibo. Yeah, next will be the President and Chairman of the Governing Council of Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, which has graciously agreed to co-host this event. And he is a man who runs with a good idea once he sees one. And so I want to, at this point in time, thank God for your life, Malam Mukhtar Zuberi Sirajo, and fellow of the Institute. May you now please take the floor, sir.
Good afternoon, the convener, the co-chair, my colleagues, and other participants. I think I should have been allowed to participate in this war in peace. I should just have been allowed to learn from the array of experts that are here. Lest I forget, I think I need to make this point. I think we should crave the indulgence of Professor Okibo to actually give us the secret of cheating nature, so that when we also grow up, we can look a lot younger than our actual age. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Some of us would recall, those of us that have followed events, particularly as we tried to organize the summit that we did last year around August, which we christened Citizens Summit on National Integration, Peace and Security. Actually, the trigger for that was our realization as an institute that is concerned about communication, concerned about relationships, how to build them and how to mend them when they crack. We realized that relationships were not only cracking in this country, but were dying. And we felt we needed to come together and arrest the drift. Part of what we discovered in the course of pursuing that noble objective was the nosedive that relationships were taking at that point was largely because the communication component in our relationships was going down seriously. We were no longer communicating with one another. Each and every one of us was sitting in their comfort zones and holding invectives at one another, playing the holier than thou stuff. And we felt Nigeria could not be allowed to continue to drift in that direction. And we came together and crisscrossed the country, talking to all sorts of people throughout the nooks and crannies of the country. And one of the most important discoveries we made was the fact that everybody we met, including those that you would think had given up on Nigeria, were asking us the question, where have you guys been all along? Everybody welcomed the idea. Everybody believed that we needed to come together and re-establish communication between and amongst Nigerians so that we could reenact the good old days during which we related with one another without any inhibition, without any recourse to asking unnecessary questions of faith or ethnicity. We were just brothers and sisters, staying wherever we wanted, going to wherever we wanted, without let or hindrance. Now, we had the summit, and as I'm talking to you now, there was a report writing committee that was set up, and from the feelers I'm getting from the committee, in the next week or so, we are likely to get a report from them. And part of the snippets of the report that I am privileged to actually have seen is the fact that even at the summit, people agreed that communication was thrown to the dogs, and this was why our relationships took the lost dive that they did. And in allowing communication to go down the drain, we cannot absolve our leaders of the blame. We don't seem to get it when it comes to the communication component of governance, to governance. We believe that communication and the handling of it is a job for all comers, not realizing that communication is a field in itself, but is deliberate, that is organized, that has its nuances. And if you don't know it, you cannot handle it because you cannot give what you don't have. And so it was a thing of joy when we realized that this consortium of Nigerian communication experts had come up with the idea that we did, and we felt as an institute that it behoved on us to partner with this kind of very, very important body of experts and scholars in communication to see how we can come together and re-establish our country on the path to sanity. Because if you don't get the communication component in human relations right, whatever else you are going to arrive at may be actually dead on arrival. So it is my privilege as president and chairman of Council and IPR to welcome all of us to this very, very important engagement, believing and praying that this is just the beginning of good things to come. We have always shouted ourselves hoarse when we see things going wrong and we realize that the communication component is the one that is missing. That is why a lot of things are not in place. That's why a lot of square pegs are in round holes. And before you know it, even governments that are supposed to be the protectors and custodians of our laws are the first to actually cross the red line of not complying with rules. What I'm talking about here is the fact that our leaders at some point realized the importance of communication and came up with a law which established the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, giving it some teeth and making a provision in the law that criminalizes the practice of public relations or communication in by whatever name by people who are not trained communicators. But what do we see in particularly public offices today? Most of the people that are appointed to serve as spokespersons, directors of communication, press secretaries, and what have you, are there on account of the, what do they call it? Giving job for the boys. We seem to be making the mistake continuously of thinking that anybody who has a good command of the English language can be is a communicator and can handle communication. When you see what is going on in our various governments today, how the various spokespersons speak at cross purposes, how messages are crafted or not crafted at all, you realize that most of the challenge is coming from the fact that the people that are handling communications are people that know next to nothing about communication. So I'm glad that we are here now, because probably we can up the ante, we can shout louder and let them know that the communication component to governance is very, very important. And if you don't get it right, you're not going to get your messages across. If you consider, I'm glad the 2023 election is in focus with the communication stuff. I don't know if we are encouraged by the kind of communication that we see flying between and amongst the various political parties that are jostling to get their people to rule over us from next year. Most of the people that are handling the communication component for these parties, most of them are not communication people. They are just there simply because they think that as people who can speak English or people who can be vulgar in some instances, they can communicate. But a good communicator knows that sometimes even silence can communicate a lot louder than the spoken word. The processes that they follow to want to communicate with us, going to the Council on Foreign Relations in Washington, D.C., going to Chatham House, wanting to tell us from yonder why they want to rule us in Nigeria, is all a product of the poverty that underlies the communication process. Otherwise, we could sit down here, we have the experts, we have the communicators who are in tune and knowledgeable about our nuances, about the complexity of the country, about how one message can work here and at the same time be counterproductive there. And you want a situation in which you craft a message that is actually friendly to all and sundry. One other thing that I hope that we take up here is even the engagement of foreign communication consultants to come and advise our candidates and their parties how to win elections here. I find it laughable because these communication people that they bring from beyond are us who don't know a people you can't be in a position to communicate with them. That is why sometimes you see messages coming from our political parties that tend to insult the sensitivities of some other parts of the country. And these people are making a hell lot of money out of that. They misadvise, believing that they are operating in their own kinds of environment. So I am not here as a resource person, actually. All I have to do is to welcome you and to assure you that the NIPR, which I have the privilege of serving under, is open for this kind of partnership and any other positive partnership that will make us retrace our steps, ask ourselves the necessary, even if difficult questions, with a view to evolving a strategy that will for once make us be in a position to want to bequeath a society that is better than the one that we have inherited, so that we free ourselves from this yoke of nostalgia in which we always reminisce about our yesterdays, because this is a country in which we always think fondly about yesterdays. Our yesterdays are always better than our todays, and I think the job of every generation is to ensure that they bequeath a better society than the one that they inherited. So it is important that we lay this foundation so that it can start with us. I want to thank you for being here and reiterate the commitment of the NIPR to this. And once the report of our summit is out, which I believe will be in the next week or so, we are going to share it with the country, particularly with this consortium of Nigerian communication experts, so that we can have an input that can enrich the report further. Thank you very much and good afternoon.
Thank you so much, President and Chairman of Governing Council Nigeria Institute of Public Relations. Mr. President, you are putting on so much gray hairs within the last few months. And I know you are not campaigning in the field. I am suspecting that the enormous work you have seen from the summit report that needs to be done is partly responsible for this. It reminds
you can say that again.
It reminds me of President Obama and the transformation he said he went through as president. Thank you so much, Co-Chair. At this point, let me invite His Excellency Aminu Wisdom to speak to us as co-chair and coordinator of the entire process of getting the professional public relations practitioners in the house here and the politicians together on this platform. We are happy, Your Excellency, we now have 70 people in the house and we keep counting, sir. Your Excellency, you can have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Dadara. You've done very well. A lot of innovation, a lot of improvement from our last hosting, and I believe very strongly we will get there. Let me sincerely and respectfully welcome my fellow Nigerians, distinguished Nigerians. We have invited to these historic events. This event is very important and key to our lifetime and the life of our nation. Like I mentioned the other day in my last remark, I still want to continue to emphasize on it. Nigeria, the whole world look onto Nigeria, not just African continent. The whole world are looking onto us. And I can tell you, we are very proud, great people all over the world. We control, we are right at the center stage of any happenings anywhere in the world. So I'd like to welcome you all, and without wasting your time, let me respectfully welcome all our invited guests, especially for those who are right on the forefront of this historic campaign that is ongoing. I know you are all busy. Some of you are going to be speaking from the field. I'm very much aware. And I'd like to tell you, we don't take it for granted. We really appreciate it. And this is a demonstration of your patriotism for our country, for our dear country, and your commitment to see that the good comes out in our country. The reward is always there for us and our generation. Let me, with that in mind, I'd like to welcome, I just saw some of you, Otumba Ajiboye. I know you will be speaking from, you were supposed to be going for the rally somewhere, and we had to, the other day you were about joining us, you had issues with connecting in. Please, if you're in our midst, kindly unmute yourself, and then we recognize you. And I'd like to also say, very importantly, many of you are attending here, many of you are on with us, distinguished Nigerians, very importantly, very important Nigerians. Some of you may be logging in with unrecognized, maybe phone or system that is not showing your name in full. And again, we may have misspelled your name in the course of some of you that we have published your names. We'd like to accept that error, that is not intentional. We take full responsibility and assure you that in the coming days, as we progress, we will definitely take corrections. Please, if you're in our midst, kindly unmute yourself and introduce yourself very briefly with your intervention. However, first, I'd like to recognize, I saw him earlier on. I hope he's still there with us. Otumba Biodun Ajiboye of APC, Presidential Council. Otumba Ajiboye, are you still with us? Oh my God.
Your Excellency, maybe you can go ahead with your speech since we are going to get them later.
Okay. Okay. So let me also assure every one of us that this section is key and fundamental to our country as a people. This event is something that touches on every aspect of our lives as a people. And communication, we must be mindful, can make and unmake every activity of our lives, even as family, beyond issue of interest or campaign. Therefore, our intention is to go beyond, not necessarily this campaign season, is to go beyond, to continue to monitor events in our country. Please, I'd like to appeal that in the course of your intervention and your contribution, one, be mindful of time, and be mindful of the fact that our country, Nigeria, is #1. Should be, I mean, a display of our patriotism should be at the center stage of our consideration in any statement we are making. Not necessarily because we are first in Nigeria before we are member of any political party or before we are member of any association or group. So it is important that we take that very importantly, that in making contribution, we take into consideration our nation and our nation first and our nation first in all of our consideration. By so doing, I believe this will help us understand ourselves and help us forge ahead in achieving that which we have set out in our individual differences, in our individual interests. All of this can be accommodated when we understand ourselves better. With that in mind, like I said earlier, when you are here with us, kindly unmute yourself and introduce yourself so that we also welcome you with your intervention. Thank you very much, Professor Dandara. Let me yield the floor to you to take us further into this program. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, Ambassador Aminu. We do appreciate you for the efforts. And, you know, today is Saturday, not very good day for the political actors. So may I please request that you contact them as usual as we now proceed with listening to the panelists. Well, my dear distinguished participants, on a day like this, everybody would want to speak. And it is important that everybody gets opportunity to speak. But unfortunately, we have limited time, so we may not have the luxury of allowing everybody to speak as long as you want. And so I will request that you kindly keep strictly to the time we allot to your segment. We have 8 discussants. We would expect that each discussant will take only 3 minutes to speak. Only 3 minutes. Joel Dafinoni, help us control your mic. Only 3 minutes to speak, please, the discussants. And those are the people that will have the highest amount of time. When we move on, I will be announcing how many minutes each person that will come thereafter will speak. But these 8 discussants have 3 minutes each. And I believe that they are professionals that will teach us how we should manage time. So we will not have any difficulty at all. I don't anticipate that we have any difficulty in helping to remind them about their time. But I have my colleagues, Professor Rotimi Olatunji and Professor Nuhu Gapsiso, in addition to my co-host, Dr. Marcel Mbamalu, who will help to remind us about time should anybody go beyond that. I thank you very much indeed. The chat box is one facility, luckily for us, that will make it possible for every one of us to be heard. So let me invite you to feel free to use the chat box. Even the discussants, if for any reason your 3 minutes is not enough, still put for us whatever you wanted to say in the chat box. We will read it, and as moderator, I will also try to call attention to it. And if for any reason you prepared a speech, you may also wish to drop it in the chat box immediately after your speech. So without further waste of time on the ground rules, let me say that we have in the House the president of African Public Relations Association, in the person of Yomi Badejo Kusanya. He is a chief, of course, and he is fondly referred to as YBO. Of course, we know him as lead partner of CM&C Connect LLP Perception Consulting, a firm that he founded 3 decades ago. He is a graduate of history from the University of Benin. He has also taken upon postgraduate qualifications. He will be speaking to us on best practice in political communication, looking at possibly the Kenya election and our previous elections. Let me invite Chief YBO to please take your 3 minutes now. Your time starts now, Chief. You will need to unmute yourself because you are a co-host. If you have challenge,
you're mute, sir.
Have you been able to unmute yourself, sir?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Can you hear me?
Very clearly.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My particular greetings goes to Prof. Charles Okigbo. Anyone who's been in this business at some point in time for a reasonable length, you'd have met Prof in one capacity or the other. I'm glad to see that you're still kicking. And my regards to all those who are in the house. Now, let me go straight to the point. I'm supposed to give an overview of sorts. And the more that I try to look for solutions, the more answer the questions that I have. Because when we're talking about elections is about democracy. They tell us that elections is the government of the people, by the people, for the people. And the only instrument by which democracy can work or is supposed to work is through elections. And the elections are meant to be around issues. Because if we're talking about democracy, then we talk about elections, then it should be about issues. So once we are going into a political campaign, it should center around what are the issues of the period. And in terms of, so that's where communication comes in. Because without communication, you can't effectively convey the way you as a politician or a political party will handle those issues when you come into government. Now, elections are supposed to be like people, the electorate are going to the supermarket and they have a choice to make. And the ability of a particular candidate or a particular party to convince the electorate that they are the ones that have the mastery of the situations or the issues at hand or the solutions of the issues at hand, and therefore they should be elected into office. That is the basic of the basis of the, I beg your pardon. So it means that the heart and kernel of any election or political campaign is the communication. And the question we ask ourselves is that how much value has been placed in this issue of communication? When we talk about political communication, what or political campaign, political communication, what do we talk about? Are we talking in the campaign? Are we talking about the structure of the communication? Are we talking about the budgeting of the communication? Are we talking about the content? Are we talking about the research and monitoring? Are we talking about the messaging? Are we talking about what is called the advertising? Are we talking about the experientials or the activation, which is what we know as the rallies? Are we talking about the social media, which I know one of my other colleagues, Tolu, will be speaking about in greater identity? Are we even talking about the brand identity of the party? You know, whether in Nigeria we have the main parties, you know, some have the symbol, one has the symbol of the umbrella, one has the symbol of a cock, one has the symbol of a family, one has the symbol of the broom, and so on and so forth. Across Africa, communication, political or campaign communication has only short across the board. And when you see, when I took a look across the countries that have recently held elections, you realize that a lot of the campaigns are not issue driven. A lot of the campaigns center on other things, on what I would call extraneous things like religion, like tribalism, like nepotism, whatever. But the issues are not laid bare. And it is not strange that that is also what is happening here in Nigeria. Because what are the issues? What are our issues in Nigeria? One, we have insecurity. Two, the economy is poor. Three, there are no jobs, but we can say that we can attach that to the economy. Are those the things that are being propagated? Are those the discussions that we're having? Secondly, very quickly, I realize that many times in Africa, we think that we do not need to convince the election. We need to convince some powers that be. So you have an issue where a lot of the actors are not speaking to the electorate. They are not technically buying their support. Number three, for me, every election campaign or political campaign must be driven towards a movement, because that movement is what quickly ignites, that's what catches fire, that's it's self-propelling. And I can give you many examples of it. For instance, in America, the Obama, when he had the Yes We Can campaign, even recently with Donald Trump, Make America Great Again campaign. The fourth question I would ask is that who is supposed to lead the campaign? Is it a public relations person? Is it a marketing person? Is it a media person? People now we are having even lawyers and other people who really should be leading the political campaign communication of it. Of course, any day I will hope that it should be led by the public relations practitioner for the reasons. I think maybe I have one more.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your 3 minutes is gone.
Thank you.
The last sentence. The last sentence, sir.
Oh, okay. Finally, election is about service. And therefore, if it's about service, we have a boss, or politicians have a boss, and their boss is the electorate. Most of our politicians are electorate tone deaf. They are not speaking to the electorate. Like I said, they are not looking at the issues. They are not driving conversation around the issues. They are being abusive. They are using derogatory words and so on and so forth. If it is truly about service to the people, then there should be more respect for the masters who are the electorate, and therefore communication should be a lot more strategic. And those who have the skills to drive strategic communication should be allowed to lead that charge. Thank you.
Thank you. We do appreciate these beautiful contributions you've made. We are happy to have your points in the chat box, because that will help to keep other participants that maybe didn't get everything you said in tune with all the beautiful thoughts you've put together. We will move now to the immediate past president of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, who is the Africa's representative on the Global Alliance for Communication Professionals and Communications, Public Relations and Communications Management. He will speak to us on evolution of political communications in Nigeria. He is Dr. Rotimi Oladele. He is chairman of the NIPR Fellowship Advisory Committee, immediate past president of the Institute, as I've mentioned. He is also former vice president, National Institute of Marketing of Nigeria, former Managing Director, Chief Executive of Nigerian Tribune, and former Managing Director, Chief Executive of Megavons West Africa. He is an associate professor and facilitator now at the School of Media and Communications, Pan-Atlantic University. He, of course, has been for long a resource person on the MBA program of the Lagos State University. Dr. Rotimi Oladele, please, you may take the floor now. Please unmute yourself, sir.
Thank you very much. Am I okay now?
Very okay, sir.
Okay.
Younger too.
I want to really commend the efforts of people that made this possible, from the mentor we all have, Professor Okubo, and then the ambassador, as well as the leadership of NIPR and other contributors. I would like us to look at the historical perspective of political communication in Nigeria, because we started with public relations strategy of catchment audience, where we walk through our artisans group, our cocoa farmers, our cassava planters association, market women, and then under the tree, under the shade of the tree meetings in the evenings and weekends, market days as a platform for political communication. We moved away from there. We went further to follow globalization. And then we now started faulting, where we have cross-carpeting, which became so much pronounced recently, and then it has already weakened, if not eroded, the ethical pattern of political communication. Because when you lose sanity, you cannot dress up properly without people noticing if you are not a mad person. Then we also move from there to ensure that our content is no longer following the rule of originality, care, and respect. Because ordinarily, we know that we were used to slogans about personality or about the manifesto elements. When you do a reminder medium that can fit into lobbying, advocacy, and also personality promotion, character analysis, and character elevation, where you just say, up Pawo, up Shagari, up Tova, up Abiola. So you zero down to these individuals as the product. And if you look at that model, looking at the commercial venture, you see some companies that are not known, but their MDs are more known than the companies. Then you see some MDs are not known, but their brand is stronger than them. But the two sides of the coin must be balanced by subtle communications apart from advertising and journalism. And this is where PR is more challenged again to see how do we do. Then we still have to continue with our platforms, social platforms, even though the social media will reinforce it, not erase it. Social media cannot erase traditional communication pathways. There are so many, they are so transient, they are so close and known and easy to utilize. So it is not easy to erode them. But ICT generally can really enhance them, enforce them, and also give them more powers. Then if you look at it, then we could be talking about the catchment as now invigorating women and youth. Before, youths will hold their meeting after taking permission from the elders and come back and report to elders. But today, leadership is no longer institutionalized and stigmatized to old age and locality. On the social media, there could be influencers that we never reckoned with when we started our communication planning. So it is necessary that our research today must not only be looking for the audience, our catchment audience, but the content that will satisfy the catchment audience of each group, each age group, each gender, each profession, and of course, each objective. We need to imbibe public relations to reorder manifesto design, public outing design, even the platform design, and of course, representativeness. Are we well represented? Are we not have imposition, either because of money or because of power or because of one influence or the other? That a few would like to lord the authority on the larger, and then we now have vocal minority driving the passive majority. It is only PR that can go unnoticed silently to discern the true followership, the honest followers, and the true followership that will give us a statistics we can rely on. Because today, politics cannot make decisions, cannot give results without good data. The data can only come from the critical analysis, which people themselves were involved in and they brought in, not the one superimposed on them.
I hate to stop you, IPP, but you may just have your last sentence. You will have opportunity later, and I know you will put your points in the chat box. Just your last sentence, sir. Your 3 minutes.
Well, my last point is just that public relations is a necessity when it comes to political communication, because it is about interaction, it's about feedback, it's about analysis, it's about data. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. We know that you can speak on this even much more longer, and I also know that when you are waking up, you speak public relations, you eat public relations, and we know that we are going to get more from you in the course of our engagement here today, Dr. Rotimi Oladele. Thank you, sir. Next will be the accomplished public relations consultant himself, who is now leading the cream of Nigerian consultants, and that is the president of the prestigious Public Relations Consultants Association of Nigeria and board member of the International Advertising Association, my dear brother Israel Jaye Opayemi, fellow of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations. He is, of course, one that started with a degree in philosophy from the University of Lagos and then move on to political science. But what is outstanding is that as managing director and chief strategist of Chain Reactions Africa, a multi-specialist public relations and communications consulting firm with a robust and highly sought after political communication practice, I believe that what is going to bring to the table today is such that we would again begin to wonder, where should we return to receive more messages? Is it from the first two speakers, or is it from the pre-can president, who is also now to download to us his thoughts for 3 minutes? Mr. President, sir. Israel, are you there? Are you having challenge? If you are, you just send a chat so that in case you are not logging with your name, so I can identify you and allow you in, because for now we have switched to webinar mode. So only the speakers will be able to unmute their microphone until we get to the plenary session where everybody will then return to the normal Zoom. Israel, are you there? Okay, we will take Israel again, but let me say that the president of NIPR came with 75% of the council members. They are all in the house. I can see Dr. Fanafa. I can also see the acting registrar of the institute in the house. I can also see that we have my brother here. I'm trying to pick quickly the members of the council that are in the house. Of course, not to talk about those that will be speaking. We have about 3 members of council that will be speaking. And of course, so many fellows of this in the house. I can see Chief. Chief is in the house. We have, I saw him earlier on. We would recognize, I'm talking of Chief Hastrop. I can't see him again, but that's fine. These are all council members that are in the house. I can see Professor Mande, I can see Peloyene, and so many others that you will permit me. If you could just help put your names and your positions in the chat box, that would be another way to ensure that we don't leave anybody behind. Next, we should hear from our sisters. And this is one that has been in the industry for over 25 years, one who has professional experience in client services, one who has led and has been running a very, very successful public relations firm in terms of providing services as well as training of public relations professionals across the African region. I'm talking about fellow Nkechi Ali Balogun, who is also a member of the Governing Council, as well as Chief Executive of NECHI Consult. Of course, she is also a fellow of African Public Relations Association. Fellow Nkechi, please, you may have your 3 minutes now.
Thank you very much. Thank you for organizing this very unique event. I want to thank the conveners, and it's a privilege and honor to be here. Prof, you had given us 5 minutes. I wonder why you reduced it to 3, but it's okay. Let me see what I can do. Communication for this Nigerian 2023 general election has been as significant and critical as many other dimensions because of communication's role in society. Election is the public demonstration of the value of politics, which, according to Nolly, the struggle for acquisition and control of state power. The parties are struggling for the right to define Nigeria's trajectory using state power that the 2023 election will grant them. Because of time, I will not go into definitions of public relations, political public relations and all that. But let me just go straight to deploying political public relations. Nigeria's 18 political parties contesting for the 2023 general election deployed political communication to various degrees of proficiency. Somehow the race has come down to 3 major parties and 1 niche player. I don't know how I can discuss this without mentioning the parties. And the 3 major parties are APC, Labour Party, and of course the PDP. The demographics of the 2023 election, we have discovered that youth population tops age distribution charts between the ages of 18 and 34 with almost 40%. Middle age, 35.7%. Ages between 50 and 69, 18%. Senior citizens, we have only 6%. And of course, students we have up to 28%. So you can see the demography and how it has been spread out. So any party ignoring any of these people in their messaging, it becomes a critical problem. Now, let us look at the audience segmentation in political communication. The 3 leading parties identified have focused their campaigns on these audiences. Labour Party, for instance, the youth demographic, and those seeking a change from the politics of the past. Whereas you have the APC, the Southwest demographic, with Lagos as primary reference. PDP, persons who seek a return to an era of assumed stability under the guidance of an experienced ruler. Please note that this is not to castigate anything to any party. We're just making a review. And then, of course, let's take Labour Party. In their audience segmentation, from the north to the south and from the east to the west, Muslims, Christians, and atheists alike, A people-powered movement has been created, led by the youth of this country. They appear to set to cause a positive disruption in the political ecosystem in Nigeria. They position as the party seeking a new Nigeria in content and delivery. Its message is for the youth. It asks them to take back their country and delivers a message against the corruption of the previous pathway. It says the party does not give shishi, to underline that it abhors the corruption of vote buying. Youths feature prominently at all their rallies. Youths are the main characters in their campaigns, whether it's advertising or public relations, including remixing popular tunes by youth organizations. Drawing on the party's logo, they extended the demographics of its base to include families, to include mothers, families. And then recently we have a 100-year-old woman in Bayelsa advising her demographic to join the youth and to bring a new order to save Nigeria from old men. We have a hangout with their party leader and to be entertained by somebody like Oke Bakassi. These, of course, you can see that the messaging are targeted to audiences that have been identified and segmented. Because of time, I will not be able to expatiate on those.
That is why you are my lovely sister. You're very conscious of time. You've gone 4 minutes, but you can just have your last word now.
Okay, my last word, the Emilocons of this world have clearly defined their audience, restricting it to people who only understand that language. And then we have the other party who regards themselves as the unifier. But then in moments of forgetfulness, they appear on top, urging people from the north to vote for their kind. So in conclusion, the parties have identified their audiences. They speak to them through various means and platforms. The challenge remains whether their choice is suitable for their purposes and whether they are optimizing it. The parties and their communication teams may look at fine-tuning their strategies and messaging, as well as audiences for their last gap. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, fellow Nkechali Balogun, for sharing your thoughts on audience segmentation. And now we will be looking at tones of communication, and that will be delivered by another council member of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, but one that is on record as the longest serving and most productive director of press in Kano history. He served under the administration of Brigadier Dominic Onea, 1996-97. He remained there with Rabiu Kwankwaso, 1999 of course, also served under Cantogoras, 96-99, and also under Kwankwaso, 99 to 2003. Director press still in Kano State Government House for Shekara, 2003-2011. And that is a total of 17 years that has not been matched to date. He is a scholar. He has also served as presidential spokesperson at the beginning of the 2023 elections cycle, but he's back to the classroom and also back to his consultancy firm at the Bayero University, Kano. Dr. Sule Alhaji Sule is also chairman of the Membership Services Committee of Nigerian Institute of Public Relations. Please, you have your 3 minutes, sir.
Thank you very much, Prof. And good afternoon to all the participants. I want to share my own thoughts on the language being used now in the campaigns towards the 2023 elections. In public relations, that is why we are different, or PR is different from the main journalism. We are concerned about how we communicate, what we communicate, when to communicate, where to communicate, language to use, and the environment. We consider the environment while communicating. We looked at the audience, the nature of the audience, and also we look at what will appeal to the audience. the kind of message that you will that will appeal to the audience. Remember, you are communicating to generate sympathy, to draw the attention of the public or of the audience so that they can vote for you. So why do you use language that is not diplomatic? Why do we go about castigating our opponents? Will that give you that sympathy? Will that allow your audience to build sympathy for you? No.
I hope I spoke well.
Remember, you are a professional, but the trend we are witnessing now in the build-up to 2023 election, honestly, is not encouraging. Though most of the major political parties looking at their spokespersons, certainly you come to conclusion that they are not professionals. And that is why we are seeing what we have seen so far. Otherwise, why should a spokesperson of a party go to a particular town of a presidential running mate and abusing in a vulgar language, abusing that candidate? The people of that environment may think as if you are not only abusing the candidate, but even the people of the environment, because that man came from that environment. Why do you use such language? Or a gubernatorial candidate calling on his opponent a cameraman who cannot win election. That is not diplomatic. That is not the kind of language we should be using. This trend did not stop only with the spokesperson. It has even reached to the stage of the candidates themselves. What we hear from all the candidates are not PR type communication. We hear violent communications coming out from our presidential candidates. And this will translate in instigating followers to foment trouble. A typical example has happened in Kano State. Immediately after a rally of a particular political party, simply because of the language used by the candidate, over 20 vehicles were vandalized and burnt. Offices of the opponent political parties were set on fire. You can see the power of using violent communication. So, how do we go about it? I think NIPR and other regulatory agencies, they have a role to play, because we must insist that all political parties only appoint professionals to man their communication outfit. Doing that will as well guide the candidates, because if you have a professional at the helm of communication unit, certainly he will influence the candidates on the way he speaks, on the kind of communication he made. So NIPR, on other professional organizations, we have to sit up on this, honestly. We have to come in and insist that political parties only appoint professionals, registered members, to man the communication outfit. Otherwise, we'll continue to see this kind of communication that is not needed on our airspace. Thank you very much.
Very much, Dr. Sule, for keeping exactly to your time. We do appreciate you for the insight you have provided on the tone of communication. Now is the time for us to listen to the Gen Zs. And there is this beautiful professional in the house. Her name is Tolulokwe Olurodero. She is an Android B2B public relations and communications consultant. She has done that for global executives. and has been also a board advisor. She is the founder and chairperson of Nigerian Women in Public Relations. And that body, of course, has been given the necessary nod by the Governing Council of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations as a means of ensuring inclusivity and also ensuring that we have a very strong platform where our mothers, our sisters can actually contribute in building and consolidating upon the gains of public relations practice in Nigeria. Tolupe will be speaking to us this morning on the aspect of youth engagement, and indeed will most likely touch on social media. You may wish to please take the floor, my dear sister.
Thank you very much. Please confirm that you can hear me, sir.
I can hear you, and I will go to sleep if you talk for too long because it's a very soft voice.
Okay, I'll try to make it short and very interesting so that you don't fall asleep. Thank you for the opportunity. Very quickly, I'll just attempt an overview of how the various political parties have used social media to drive youth engagement and also promote their party activities with a view to get support for their candidates. First, the overview would be that the main parties really they've been in the forefront of Nigeria's election from 1999 till date. Of course, despite their various rebirths and recompositions, the main parties the main faces have been in our faces all this while from 1999 till date. However, one thing that has been different in this election period is that there's been a clamor, a louder clamor for a third force, as it were. And that clamor really started from social media, and it's been largely driven by the youths. The face of this third voice was first identified on social media by the youths. And what has now happened is that they have continued to drive conversations for this third force. They have supported the visibility of this person and perhaps extended acceptability for this third force. And of course, what has now also happened is because we now have this third force, in addition to the two other political parties that most people know, what has happened is we've noticed a conspicuous absence and loud silence from other parties who may have very good candidates, but they've just not leveraged social media and its very cost-effective platform to push their agenda and position their candidates in the faces of the people, and perhaps the youths who seem to have the largest voting bloc in Nigeria for this election based on statistics from INEC. Ultimately, for the parties that have utilized and ignored social media so far, what has happened is that the youth engagement on this platform, they've been largely unethical and that it has been uncoordinated. As the president of APRA said, my boss and chief elder in the profession, as he has said, coordination of all communication activities, all conversations around these elections, ideally should have come from a more strategic communication standpoint, led by public relations professionals who really are the ones who understand how to reach out to all the stakeholders and make sure that people are speaking to issues instead of attacking personalities. On social media, we'll see that communication has been extensively divisive. They've been polarizing. So while we've had issues from older generations, this has now filtered into social media, and more youths are now divisive in their thinking and in the language that they use on social media. We've ignored issues, we've focused on attacking persons, and then rather developing very interesting, insultive language, which has now evolved and has fed into even mainstream conversation and mainstream media, because it looks like the strategy for communications in Nigeria's election period would be focused on the person who can insult people the most, who can drag family members and just dig as much as they can into your history. And obviously, that's not what communication is about. The idea for communication, ideally, and extending it to a medium like social media, would be to focus on the issues that these candidates are able to solve, what areas they are able to provide solutions for. But we've not seen that demonstrated at all, using the social media and, of course, even engaging the youths. You seem that they've just focused on people who can insult and drag you as much as they can. And then finally, of course, because of the, I don't know if it's a strategy one would call it, because it's not quite effective in terms of driving conversations that are ethical and sustainable that would lead to the development of our country. The focus on using very insultive language and very divisive tactics meant that the use of social media has been restricted to only certain platforms like Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Professional networking sites like LinkedIn that has 7.3 million Nigeria users, they've been largely quiet on that, because a platform like LinkedIn, you can't go there to insult people. You can't go there to use very divisive and polarizing language on a platform like that. And because we've not really, because these political parties have not really focused on the issues at hand, how do you sell your candidates and how do you communicate to people, identifying all the stakeholders, because that has not really been in the forefront. They've not been able to leverage a platform like LinkedIn where you can talk about issues and professionals can contribute to conversations like that.
I can listen
And so
the whole day without getting tired, but I know you want to
thank
give
you. Well, so I mean, the last sentence really is that in terms of an overview, this the political season in Nigeria for the 2023 elections, they've not really leveraged strategic communications and how that can evolve, and that how that can be leveraged on social media to drive youth engagement and also get the buy-in of the youth for the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much indeed, Tolu, for
Mr. Moderator, thank you. Thank you very much. By way of information, let me quickly thank all the participants as well as the presenters so far. Very brilliant presenters. Thank you very much. But by way of information, let me inform the House that some of our invited guests that are spokespersons, some of them are on the feed, listening, waiting to hear from all the professionals, and then they will now come in with their intervention and their experiences on the feed. So I will yield the floor for now so that the moderator can proceed as we progress in this section. Thank you.
Excellency, our co-chair and coordinator. We really appreciate the efforts you're making to ensure that the professionals and those in the political field are able to benefit maximally from this rich resource that God has blessed Nigeria with. We are almost coming to the end of this segment, and very soon we will be inviting our spokespersons as well as the presidential candidates that are with us to speak, but not until we take a professor of mass communication at the Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu University, one that is been highly rated, especially by the University Governing Council, where she serves as a member, and also her contributions as head of department has greatly repositioned the department and indeed continue to contribute towards the growth of the communication discipline in that university and in the country. She's a fellow of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, Professor Angela Nkirunwamo. You may please take the floor now.
Yeah, thank you so much. Good afternoon, professional colleagues and participants. Without wasting time, I will go straight to the topic of my discussion. I'll be talking on issue-based campaigns. And without wasting time, I will just, briefly describe what it means. Issue-based campaign is bringing up a topic, an important topic for discussion or debate during the elections. And Tolupe, when she was talking, gave her examples of political candidates and parties using insulting language, personal attacks on opponents and things like that. That is not an issue-based campaign. That's what we've been observing. Our political parties and candidates are expected to show clear understanding of problems of governance or governance challenges facing each geopolitical zone in the country. That's not what we are having now. Rather, they're busy, abusing each other, insulting each other in social media and things like that. And scholars like, I wouldn't like to go into literature, but some political scientists have come up with two major reasons why Nigeria or Nigerian political candidates have drifted away from issue-based campaigns. The first one is what they call the lack of capacity, to scrutinize political parties and candidates for promises they make during the elections. Like, for instance, in the UK, we have the much talked about and respected Institute for Physical Studies. Their job is mainly to look at, study political manifestos once politicians.
It appears we're having a challenge with Professor Nwamo's connectivity.
Yeah,
You
by
can,
bringing out,
can
you hear me?
Sorry, put off the video and speak to us so we don't have interference. Your network bandwidth is a little low there.
Okay. So by bringing out the findings and the manifestos, the strengths, the weaknesses, media professionals will now give maximum coverage.
Okay. I think that.
Hello.
Yeah, Professor Angela. Yes. If you go off again, I may appeal to you to put your contribution in the chat box, but you can try for another 1 minute. Let's see how it goes.
The solutions for issue-based campaigns in Nigeria: one, employing professionals, like the issue of strategic communication. It is only professionals that can go into that. Non-professionals cannot come up with strategic communication. And that is why political candidates have drifted away from issue-based campaigns. And then coming up with capacity to hold and scrutinize political candidates for promises, because they come up, they make promises, tell us they can build castles in the air without anyone holding them on the promises they make. And the next thing is for Nigerians themselves. We don't vote based on issues. Rather, Nigerians tend to be voting based on tribal sentiments, religious sentiments, and that's the major problem. That's why our candidates have not been able to come up with issues, discussing issues, telling us how they will solve the issues. Like, for instance, in Southeast, in Anambra State, a few days ago, a professor was just killed in his house. And not an average Igbo man is known for making his money through buying and selling. And every Monday right now, we don't go out, nothing, no business. The economy is going down. And you see our political candidates not coming up with facing the real problem in the Southeast. How will they handle this issue of sit at home? The no modalities put in place, but they keep on telling us that they will fight corruption, they will give us qualitative education, build good roads, but there are certain problems.
Angela, beautiful contribution, wonderful point. She is the immediate former public relations executive of the African Council for Communication Education. And of course, she's the present chairperson of the Anambra chapter of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations. We are very sorry that you are not able to have all the time like every other speaker so far, but we will expect you to put your points there. We will move to the next segment, and I'm sure that there will be need for us to come back. And this is the point I must apologize to His Royal Highness for calling him a chief. He is the maker of chiefs. He's a Royal Highness Hashtrop. He's a member of council, and I hope that this saves me from receiving some strokes of the cane after this program from his palace guards when next I go to the normal. So I'm very sorry. Of course, I can see Professor Biafuna, council member in the house, and we have so many professionals in the house. Now we will take, if the APRA PRCAN president is in, we can take him. Otherwise, we'll move on to our elder chairman, CNF Porter Novelli, who has been with us since the study on this election in 2015, 2019, and now he's always given support and has always been available to us. Mr. Naemeka Madweguna, if you're in the house, you can have the microphone at this point, sir. I'm also happy that the chats are going on, and we can see that participants are happy with most of the contributions, and we will continue to share perspective in the chat box. My co-host, can you confirm if our elder is in the house, please?
Yeah, I haven't seen him yet, but he did mention shortly before the program started that he's running for, he had another engagement long before now, but he will be joining us a bit later. Okay. So I don't know whether he hasn't joined now. So I am not sure he's on the platform right now.
Okay. Well, I want to appeal to the fellows in the house. So many of them, I can see former Councilmember Ola Demolaku. Of course, I've talked about Peter Yene. I can also see Akin Okundero. There are so many in the house. I'm sorry that I'm not, time will not allow me to call you one after the other, but please use the chat box to, again, keep us informed about your presence. Well, Your Excellencies, distinguished participants, and the last to intervene would have been Dr. Ike Nelieku, council member and also chairman of Right Angle PR, but he sent a short message. I don't know if my co-host has the message and you want to quickly share it in a minute. He's the chairman of the NIPR Summit Committee. He was with us last week. Do you have it, sir, in the chat box?
Okay.
He said he left that. He had to go. We can take it as soon as you are able to access it. But let me say that we had confirmation before now of the presidential candidate of ZLP, Barrister Dan Nwanyao, to be part of us. We also had confirmation from Otumba Bioda Ajiboye of the APC. We had confirmation also of Charles Aniago of PDP. We had confirmation also from Professor Julius Yovari, member House of Reps and APC Edo. We had confirmation by General Pastor Akem. We also had yesterday during our testing, Honorable Barrister Pascal Obome came in and he promised to be back. I'm sure he's in the house. Of course, we had confirmation too from Dr. Clement Wanko, ED PLAC. But I know that there are so many more. So maybe this is the point I should hand over to the co-chair, His Excellency Ambassador, to see if he can invite our spokesperson, presidential candidate and spokesperson, one after the other, to now respond to what they have heard from the professionals.
Thank you very much, Prof. That was a very brilliant presentation from the various presenters. Wonderful, very insightful and informative. And I believe many of them who are in our mix are drawing lessons and taking notes to get back to work. These are very key, very important. And I would like to, at this point, suggest that all our presenters will kindly send us a copy of their paper. It will help us to do more justice to it by following up with all the campaign spokesperson and as well as other participants. I have a confirmation from many of them are in the field right now. I have a confirmation that Otumba Biodun Ajiboye was with us earlier. They have a rally going on right away. He's inside the rally. Let me quickly also acknowledge that I cited Professor Nwakobia, Chris Nwakobia. If you are there, can you kindly unmute yourself, please? Well, Professor Julius Ihonvare is on the road as we speak and is trying to connect in. A while ago, Honorable Pascal Boehme also, we're trying to also connect. If you are there, can you kindly unmute yourself or your representative? Okay, we should be having Dr. I saw, okay, Charles Anyagu, if you are there or your representative, I know right now, they are somewhere right now in a rally. Someone was supposed to be representing him while he joined us much later. Okay, I will suggest that moderator will continue with those who are here with us in order to make quality use of our time. And I believe there are also some other distinguished Nigerians that are here with us. At this point, everyone can join us, can unmute his or herself to give us your intervention and contribution, while I yield the floor to the moderator to continue the good work you've been doing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. You would have noticed that I had to take off my agbada because the ideas coming are so exciting that I'm beginning to sweat. I can also see that there's some fireworks in the chat box. Let me invite my co-host, Dr. Mbamalu, to read some of the comments and questions in the chat box so that our discussants can respond to some of those questions. There are those that are directed to specific people. And also, if you have Dr. Ike's message, this is the time you can read it, sir. Dr. Mbamalu.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moderator. I have a few messages here, most of them directed at some speakers. The first one here is from Jude Obodo. He says, well done to all the presenters so far. This fruitful discussion should be expanded to include all the presidential candidates so that they can advise their handlers on the best strategic communication approach. Mimido Uchagu also passed a comment here. She says that's one aspect we need to grow on our political landscape, and that is capacity. Capacity is one aspect that we need to grow in our political landscape. Our manifestos should be scrutinized and the issues addressed against mudslinging and polarized speeches. I'm sure she was referring to the speech made by the president of Women in Public Relations. Professor, the other one here is Obadire. The question is, are the spokesperson knowledgeable on what to do and how to do it? Is it their job to come up with how manifestos are to be written and how to discuss issues facing each zone? This question is coming from the prof herself, the prof that just delivered a presentation. She's asking that, she's saying that spokesperson should come up with, I think it's a comment, actually, not a question. The other comment here says, my chapter chair, Professor Angela, I think a reference to her speech, I'm ever proud of you. You made an issue-based presentation. These are the ones I could see from here. I don't know if you have more that I can't access from here. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mbamalu. I don't know if the discussants picked the questions directed at them. If you did, you can take 1 minute to respond. If there's any question directed at you, your presentation, or you really would like to say something. We can have one minute, please, to respond. We have switched out of the webinar mode, so we encourage participants to please be careful with their microphone so that it doesn't interfere with our transaction here because we would want to have a house where we can listen to each other as we're doing now.
Let me quickly add this while
Yes.
Mr. Moderator, thank you very much. When we sent out this invitation, we were not selective. We contacted all the political spokesperson. As a matter of fact, authoritatively, I can confirm by text messages and voice messages of the confirmation of the ones we have printed in our invitation. We did that because we got their confirmation. We didn't just want to print anybody's name on our invitation that has not given us a go-ahead. And everyone is welcome. In the last intervention, the first section, we had the Ronifade who represented the Labour Party. We had so many other representatives. Even this same Majiboye was also with us. We also had Prince Adebayo, who was the presidential candidate of SDP. So we ensure that the invitation covered all the political party, and is the one that responded to us that we will broadcast their name. We are not selective because we stand for Nigeria and Nigerians. And these are professionals, and we will not want to we are not taking side. We cover every aspect. In fact, we have even talked about, in a way, expanding it, because communication is not only about campaign. These are values we have, throw in the wing. These things didn't just happen today. These people who are speaking, they are speaking from the content in them, for what they know and from what they believe. So they didn't just, these things are not just happening today. And I appreciate that everyone participating have seen the need, that there is need to deal with this aspect. And it is important to make sure that once we speak, just like one of the presenters earlier said, what happened in Kano, that was volatile. Just mere a statement from an individual. Look at the extent and look at the damage. Lives were claimed, properties worth of billions were damaged, and that is not acceptable in a society of ours. And again, talking about the other one that will refer to the language being used in a traditional locality of the individual, where his brothers and sisters, his family member, perhaps his wife, his relation, they are in that group, is not acceptable. So we extended invitation to all Nigerians who we know are key. They are key actors. We're not selective, and we assure them we are willing and also ready to extend more invitation. This won't stop. It will continue even after the election, because our target is to ensure that we rid our society from people who are not well-baked, who are not well-equipped to speak for organizations, speak for nations, speak for states. This will help to bring sanity to our country. Thank you, moderator, for these few minutes.
Your Excellency, for helping again to underscore the principle that underlie this engagement. And of course, we understand that this is a busy period, but the first engagement we had, even the spokesperson of Mr. President Garba joining us, and indeed, there were so many of them there. Probably we will be better advised next time in terms of the timing of the meeting. Maybe allowing it to come late in the night might be one way to ensure that, because I do know they are actually excited about being here. And I also know that some of them have sent text messages, even as we're talking now, to say that they have this or that challenge, but they will return. But the conversation will still be on, at least for the rest of the time. There are specific questions that were asked the participants. I want to allow the participants who have seen those questions that are addressed to them to just take 1 minute to respond. And then we will open the house for comments from the entire body of participants. Thank you. I've seen that Tolulope has shared her talking points, very helpful. Please take advantage of them. You can copy them from there. But of course, we are also going to have all the charts saved for purpose of our research teams. Thank you so much. Discussants, Professor Latunji, you want to speak? Please go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Professor Dandara. I want to salute all the top-rated professionals that have spoken to us today. In fact, we in the academia have come to learn from those that are on the field, and we feel honored and privileged to so do. Particularly my brother Yomi Badejo, who with his wealth of experience had handled several elections in some other African countries as a consultant. Could I ask Yomi if he has the privileged information of specific names of foreign communications consultants, even if we don't want to mention the parties that they consult for, so that part of our learning point as scholars, just like we did in the 2015 election, we unmasked the foreign consultant. Can we do the same thing at this forum if it will not give so much away just for our learning experience? Thank you.
No, thank you. That is a very important question. The Nigerian Institute of Public Relations Governing Council is also interested in that. We're sharing information, and I think that it's the most appropriate forum to receive contribution in that regard from our APRA president and indeed any other professional that's in the house. The question simply is, do we have information about involvement of certain consultants that have been engaged, particularly those not members of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, so that we can begin to see the extent to which we are complying to some of the expectations from the political parties as far as the NIPR Act is concerned. APRA President, sir.
Thank you very much, Prof. I know in the 2019 election, one of the main political parties used a company called London Advertising to design their materials, even though the placements were locally. At this year, I don't think they went back to that organization. From the feelers I got, or I'm getting, or I got, a lot of the materials that are here are locally produced. That is not, that could also be due to the fact that, ACON has a law now that says that even voiceovers, you cannot use international foreign voiceovers on Nigerian materials. They wouldn't give you approval. So maybe that was largely driven by that. So this time around, a lot of the materials that have been produced locally, from what I've seen so far, and I stand corrected. I know about a particular organization, a particular political party that used the company called London Advertising, but I didn't see them around this time around. So I think most of the parties did comply. I think most of the parties complied this time around. The question now is whether they use the right kind of professionals. That's another debate altogether. I don't know if that answers the Prof.
Yes, it does.
Sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
I want to invite comments just on this issue for now. Professor Mande, your hand is up. If you want to speak on the issue of use of external consultants for this campaign, you're welcome to speak now. Otherwise, we'll take the general comments when we get to that point. Professor Mande, sir, fellow of the institute.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Dandara. Just to buttress on what YBO said, as a matter of fact, all the advertising campaigns and the jingles produced in Nigeria, because of the new ARCON law, which gave a new definition to what advertising is, which means that for all the campaigns that pass through, even though there are most of them that do not pass through the ARCON law, but if there is any other one that is led like that, the advertising standard panel and the vetting committee in ARCON normally sit down to verify those things before they have been to that extent. So thank you very much. Just to give a justification to what.
But to correct you, there's no material that didn't go through ARCON, because no media house would take a material from you now if there's no ARCON certification, whether it's radio, whether it's TV, whether it's press. They will insist on getting the ARCON registration from you. So no material that we are seeing now that didn't go through ARCON, none.
Except the social media, maybe.
No,
That's
even now,
ARCON
is insisting now that for campaigns to be run on social media, it has to have the approval. Now you can do that once, but so let me take, for instance, if they know that my company is managing a business, they can come after us. So they've used that to also, because we've even found out that in some cases, when you want to do some placements, even on social media with some of the influencers, including skits now, they will insist that you must have an ARCON clearance.
All right, thank you so much. We thank ARCON for that intervention. Now, drawing from there, do you think there is something the NIPR needs to do more to also regulate the use of non-professionals as spokesperson? That is one of the questions we can also address at this point. And I think that should also be jumpstarting the general discussion, which we can do for the next 15 minutes. So let's talk about this. I can see YBO, your hand is up. I can see fellow Ali Balogun's hand is up. Let's have it in that order, please.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Definitely, because where there's no law, there is no offense. I think I was sidebarring with one of our young colleagues on the platform. She's here, Adedoyin Jaisimi, and she was saying, look, YBO, what are we going to do about this thing? The truth of the matter, sir, and I'm glad that the president is here, we have a responsibility of making one or two people scapegoats. This is what ARCON has done to now make it that even those of us who are in public relations, if we need to do certain types of work, we have to go to ARCON. So definitely we too, if we don't show people as examples, if we don't make examples of them, we are not going to, it's as if we cannot bite. And I think it's high time, maybe 1, 2 people, 3 people, we splash it out. I remember during Dr. Oladele's tenure, when they issued an ultimatum that if you are not registered with NIPR, you are going to be prosecuted. Many people came into the fold. So it's high time that we walk our talk. It is high time that we, bite 1 or 2 people.
Thank you very much. And I can assure this audience that the bite can never catch YBO because his company is fully compliant. All his staff are members of the NIPR. Yes, fellow Nkechi and His Royal Highness Dr. Jacob Adetayo Hastrop, also council member, and then Akin Okidero. Let's have 1 minute in that order, please, responding to this question.
Okay, so why I totally remember that public relations is in the business of mending and building relationships. I think it is time for us to come up with laws in support to buttress what YBO just said. If we do not come up with laws, we'll continue to have, not just coming up with laws, we should come up with laws and then enforce those laws. Recently, the Marketing Institute have removed the names of journalists from their, the journalists, have removed public relations members. Yes, NUJ have removed people who cannot be seen as journalists. So when are we also going to do that? I think we must take that step. Until we do, we are going to have the proliferation of quacks or non-professionals.
I can see Professor Mande and some of our colleagues laughing because they are saying, fellow Nkechi, you are a council member. when you should be answering that question, but I won't put you on the spot. Let me invite his
No, you can't bring, you don't want to put me on the spot. You don't want to.
I hope you're not having a board meeting of the NIPR here again.
Thank you very much.
It's supposed to be a discussion on general issues over. Okay, fine.
Yes, thank you very much. Dr. Mbamalo, this also borders on that. We're talking of how to regulate the space.
Yeah, I know. Don't worry.
What spans through all this presentation is simply that these political parties are not using professionals in this area. So we're saying things we can do again. And if we're going too much, then we hope Professor Rotimi Olatunji for that. But I'm sure that yes,
it's allowed.
Thank you very much for that around my president. Just to add to the debate, Mr. Yomi Okubadejo has already said something, and Nkechi Ali. Also, I believe that just like Nigeria Bar Association, they are also doing a lot. They have a committee to sanction lawyers that are not doing well or spoiling their image. So they remove them from the list of MBA. I think we should start to do that. We must make sure some of our members are also involved in this vulgar, inciting, hate speech, irresponsible and violent, uncivilized, aggressive statements, you know, which is our members are involved. We don't do that. So when we get none of our members involved in this, or our members that are not able to professionally caution their principals, I think we should set up a disciplinary committee, invite them, and if they're guilty, they will remove them from the list of being a member of NIPR. And apart from that, I also want to say that it is time for us to prepare a policy document, working with the Peace Committee of General Abubakar and NBC. You see, when you are watching television these days, you wonder how the television and both electronic and print media houses, how they are allowing people that come on board, the spokesperson of all these politicians, to be making on civilized speeches. They are supposed to set them out or stop them in that area. So we need a law to guide us, and we need to work with NBC to make sure that when there is no law, there will not be any discipline. So that is my area of what I want to contribute. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you, Kabesi. I thank you for making this easier for me. I was going to say, how will I remind His Royal Highness that 1 minute is up? But you ended it just at that point. I was wondering. Yes, Chief Aki Okundero.
Yeah, thank you very much. This is a laudable program. I've just dropped a message coincidentally when Barijo Kusoya was making his statement. You see, the law is there. The law guiding NIPR to enforce is there. The National Act of 1990 is there. And all we need is to raise standard of our professionals. Let's start with the corporate organizations. Let them have qualified and people who are really professionals in the saddle. The moment you do that, they are the people who would relate with the politicians, who will ensure that whatever program that they are backing will take proper shape. And that will also help our PR consultants to order leverage with them. So Ogun State chapter did something previously. We set up a committee and we're moving from one organization to another, checkmating people who are not professionals. And we really stopped some appointments. So let the NIPR take the bull by the horn and enforce this law. Thank you very much.
Chief Aki Okundero, thank you. What you are doing is the right thing. The rules of engagement requires that there has to be, there's a grievance redress mechanism. The Council of NIPR can only receive complaints before they investigate. So what your chapter is doing is correct. We encourage other chapters to do that and other professionals to do that, so that the disciplinary committee, which is already in place and chaired by the Vice President of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations. By the way, he should have been with us. He worked also at the background to get the discussants together in line with the directive of the president. But he had to attend a very important function that he couldn't combine with this. And so I want to give the apology of the Vice President of the Institute and fellow of the Institute also, and member of the Federal Republic, Deputy Controller General of Customs, Wale Adeni. Yes, fellow Yeni, and finally, I saw Professor Biefuna, you wanted to speak, and then we'll return to the immediate past president, Dr. Rotimi Oladele. One minute, please. Peter Oyene, Professor Biefuna, and then Dr. Rotimi Oladele. Anyone on the microphone first can speak, please. Meanwhile, co-host, can you please go to the chat box?
Vance?
Okay, I think the moderator professor is back.
Okay.
Yes, I gave the floor to 3. I was saying you to have
Professor.
Yes, I said, co-host, you can go to the chat box. There are some questions that move us away from this topic, but not until we hear from these 3 fellows of the institute that their hands are up. I'd called Peter Yene, Dr. Yene, I'd also called Professor Biefuna, and then Dr. Rotimi Oladele. One minute, please. Please release your microphone and speak to us. Everybody has been able to undo your microphone. Dr. Oladele, you can speak if you are able to release yours. If fellow Peter and fellow
Hello
are not able to speak, anyone can speak.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Hello. Okay. Talking about practice PR and one of our members, the evil has been done already. The bad work has been done, and we have just about a few weeks, let me say 2 weeks to the election. But the one I'm more concerned about is that after the election, over 1,000 spokespersons, over 1,000 corporate communication people will be employed by those who win the election. So what are we going to do? I want to suggest the NIPR should do letters to governors, to all the people who are contesting, then finally to those who win the election, governors, Senate elect, House reps elect, state state lawmakers elect.
Fellow Ali Balogo, we have to switch off your microphone twice already. Help us control your microphone, please.
Yeah. We should do a letter that will go to all the people who are elected after the election to let them know who can be a PR person, who can you appoint, what are the qualifications. You must connect with NIPR to do this. Because if we don't do that, what happened 4 years ago will happen again. When they have appointed, it will not be like, we will look like an enemy to those who have been appointed. But let's give them the materials.
Thank you so
do
much.
A paper and say, this is what you must do. And
Very
they will comply.
Advice. We must avoid what happened in 1949, not to happen in 2023. I agree with you. Yes, thank you. Professor Biefuna.
Well, we can organize a special program for them. I gave them to members.
Okay, Professor Biefuna, you are able to speak?
Yes, thank you very much, Prof. I'm glad to hear that this program will not end with this election, that it will go on. For me, that is the only way to go through. Now, we cannot have members who are practitioners of public relations, who are committed if we don't have laws and we enforce the laws. I joined NAB and Mande that have said we need enforcement of the law is very, very important. Otherwise, we continue to play at the gallery and we continue to just be loose with these things. We don't make the institute firm enough to be the professional body that is supposed to be. Enforcement of the law. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, I am beginning to agree with Dr. Mbamalu that we must move to other issues. Mbamalu, go to the chat box. Dr. Rotimi,
right.
and to intervene.
Okay. I will have a few questions here and some comments.
Maybe Dr. Rotimi, would you want to come later in case one of the questions also is directed at you, so that when you intervene, you can address them.
Okay, that's fine.
All right. We have sorry about that. I didn't get the communication straight then. We have a few questions here. The first one is it's from Sadua Banyawa, and she says, of all the PR tactics, why are the spokespersons of the various political parties bent on using controversies? Is controversy the most suitable strategy for PR in politics? That's from Sadua Panya. And then we have one from Abimbola Dada Jacobs. Abimbola Dada Jacobs says, excellent presentations from all resource persons, informative, rich, and interesting. The question is, are the party spokespersons ready to accept and implement whatever suggestions this lady got with profile at the end of the meeting? Okay, and a comment from Dr. Agatha Ojiewu. Thanks to the presenters for a job well done. Their presentations will yield powerful results if Nigerians will understand what they are expected to do during political campaigns. Okay, and I think for now, these three comments and questions, we can address them. The presenters can address, the speakers can address them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I would say that we will come to the last round where we will allow each of the discussants to take 1 minute to respond and give their final word. But before that, let me invite Professor Kigbo, who may want to also highlight some questions that have emerged in the course of the engagement today. Professor Kigbo, yes, sir.
Yes, thank you very much, Professor Dandaura, and all the participants. This is indeed very enlightening, and I appreciate all the lessons we all are learning. Like many of my old teachers, the older we get, the more we learn from our students and former students. I've learned a lot by interacting with many of you today. There are three things that stick out in my mind, particularly from how we started APCON in 1990. The first is that you must have committed followers. If you don't have committed followers, no matter how good a general you are, you cannot win any war on your own. So NIPR, you have to build the followership. NIPR Council, you must build a followership that comprises not only NIPR members, but also people outside your fold. If you don't do that, you'll be talking to yourselves. So there is an important need for you to build followership. I've started discussing how you can do this with Professor Dandaura and Ambassador Aminu. During Babangida's regime, we were able to approach ICOMU, working with Michael Kereke, Adekunle Salu, Fase Tokumbo Yusuf, and a few others. NIPR was able to convince ICOMU that government communication must be neutral, not favoring the military, not favoring SDP or NRC, but neutral. And that's where NIPR comes in. You have to go beyond NIPR members and talk to anybody who is engaged with public communication. So during ICOMU's time, we were able to provide public communication training at every local government. And today, it's absolutely necessary that NIPR should champion providing professional communication education. It doesn't have to be 6 months. It can be as short as 3 days. But every public information officer at the local government, at the state, and at the federal level must imbibe the principles of public relations. Public relations is not propaganda. It's educating the public on what you should know to be responsible citizens. It's explaining why we need to change from old Naira notes to new Naira notes so that everybody understands it, that it's in their interest. And that we had done things like that in the past. We were able to change from driving on the left to driving on the right. We were able to change from pound to Naira. And all these things were done smoothly. Why? Because we had competent public communication professionals running the show without even spending a lot of money. NIPR must champion this. You must be the leaders in providing public enlightenment, because the act establishing you actually places this responsibility on your shoulders. It's not journalism. It's not advertising. It's not broadcasting. It's not people who are working for non-profit organizations. Anybody who has anything to do with government information must understand that public communication is public relations, and public relations is not propaganda. So that's the most important thing. And then secondly, this discussion we are having today should be happening more regularly. It shouldn't be something that just happens by accident or because somebody wants to have a conversation about the election. It's something we should be doing periodically, so it becomes part of our culture. Some of you have said that we don't have to run to London and go to Chatham House to talk to Nigerians. This again is something that NIPR can champion. And we can get Ambassador Aminu to undertake to help us raise the funds we need to build our own Chatham House in Nigeria. It might not be done in 1 month or in 1 year, maybe not even in 3 years, but unless we start, we will never get to do it. And then finally, I'm happy that there are many professors among us here today. When I was teaching at Nsukka, what made my students appreciate what I told them was because I invited professionals. I invited people from Enugu, from Lagos, to come and teach them the practice. Unfortunately, many of our lecturers shy away from intermingling with practitioners. Unless we infuse our classroom lectures with the experiences of practitioners in the field who can talk about how they do what they do, different from what we have in our textbooks, many of which are written for American and European students. Unless we involve practitioners in our education, what we'll be teaching will only be theory. The practical part is what practitioners like many of you on this platform do every day, even if you don't have degrees. But this is the foundation of public relations, because actually we borrowed our public relations practice from Britain. And the people who were doing it in Britain didn't go to universities. So those 3 points are important. And we hope that NIPR will work with many of us in Nigeria and outside Nigeria to see that we implement them, because it is in the interest of the nation for every Nigerian citizen to understand that public communication is not APC communication, it's not PDP communication, it's not Labour communication. It is communication in the public interest. And that governments are set up to work for the people, not for the political parties that help the politicians to come into office. So again, thank you very much for the opportunity to learn from many of you, from what you are saying. And of course, for me to share some of my experiences of having taught in Nsukka, in Unilag, in Nairobi, Kenya, and now in the US, as I keep telling Ambassador Aminu, all these experience, unless I transfer them to the younger people, I will die with them and I will be the loser, as well as many of you who will have benefited from what I know. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Charles Okigbo. We are now running to the end of it. But before I invite the co-chairs to give their final word and then vote of thanks from Dr. Mbamalu, let me give each of the discussants 1 minute each to respond to the questions or any other thing you would want to respond to within your 1 minute, starting with the APRA president, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. My last word will be in terms of democracy, poverty and ignorance. Does it encourage democracy or does it detract from democracy? I think while we are concerned about the barriers of like what you call the hate speech and all of that, I think this is only thriving because of our poor level of enlightenment and then of course poverty. I'm not sure that those two things, the twin things, encourage democracy. And as long as in Africa, in Nigeria, they are prevalent, we will always have this challenge that we have in terms of communication. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. IPP, Dr. Oladele, sir.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, now we can hear you, sir.
Okay. You asked me to answer the question directed to me and also comment on this last point. So I'll try to do it in 1 minute. But you and the chairman will have to reward me for taking my 45th wedding anniversary out of my wife by taking me here.
Oh, congratulations.
Happy wedding anniversary.
Congratulations. Happy anniversary.
Yes.
It's all for Nigeria. It's all for Nigeria. It's all for Nigeria. We celebrate you in a special way. Congratulations,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
More grace and more grace and more grace.
Thank you, sir.
Ambassador Amino will receive you in Canada the next time you go to see your son and your grandchildren.
Okay. Thank you very
No problem.
much.
We shall host you specially, sir. Thank you,
All
sir.
right.
Thank you, sir.
Looking at the law of NIPR and enforcement, our major problem with these are the following. Number one, the law is too weak. Even when you enforce it, it amounts to nothing. Somebody can close his eyes and pay the fine and then go back to the offense. So it doesn't solve the problem. We need to re-architecture and replant that law. We need a new law that will be able to be a deterrent to anybody that wants to infringe on it. Secondly, we need also to build serious love and evangelism for corporate membership. Corporate membership is a failure on our part for now. And this is what we have lost for all the time. We need to awake it. We tried, and the present leadership is also trying to continue with membership drive and accommodating those who are ready to repent. But what about those who are perpetual rebels, who don't even want to? So it is a harsh law that can take them. Then the issue of this local government thing, we know we have 774. If every local government has a registered PR practitioner, we are talking of 774. And I remember, Professor Okigbo, we also remember that when you are talking of this 1990 thing, you had team leads. You sent us to the field. I was in Niger and Ogun State, and I did with my team training for all the local government who then came. But we lost that out. And local government is a very strong structure that we cannot do public communication without. So we need to recognize, then all the spokespersons, when
Now we are losing you to poor network.
Yeah.
We will still take you, but let's
They
take.
get into those ones. We'll be fine. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. We still do not have your notes. We have the notes from NAB, and we also have the notes from Tolulukwe. Can other presenters please help us put their talking points in the chat box? Fellow Nkechi Ali Balogun, please, you may wish to have a 1 minute now.
I have a comprehensive one for you already.
Oh, great. Thank you, sir.
Great, fantastic.
I trust you.
Great.
Thank you very much. In as much as we believe that the real agents of change are youth and not the political or corporate leaders, it still behoves the parties to be inclusive in their audience segmentation. It's important that they involve everybody so that their messaging will be tailored to every demographic. I mean, we all need to know what is going on, and we all are still members of this country where messages are tailored to only a particular demographic. You deny the others of knowing what is going on, and I think that's a faulty messaging. So going forward, I think our content must be directed to all members of the audience, and then our messaging should also be customized, for all members of the audience. And professionals, of course, should be employed to do this job. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I can see Honorable Pascal Gome has rejoined us. Even though it's
Mr. Moderator.
Yes, sir.
Professor. Oh, wow. Okay, Professor Dandara.
Yes, sir.
Your listening is poor. Let me welcome Honorable Barrister Pascal Ogweme. Can you kindly unmute yourself? We've been expecting. I can see your handle. Is Pascal there, Honorable Pascal?
Yes, it's there, but
yes, I'm here. Good afternoon, all. Greetings from Abuja, in Nigeria. Sorry to be joining late. I had to pull myself out of a wedding, which I was chairmaning, so that I can be a part of it. I'm actually rushing to the hotel, so I'll just see how much I can participate before I get to the hotel because of the noise on the way. But
yeah, just your intervention so far. We've been just your intervention. Quickly, your intervention. Then we continue from there. All about all you guys have been doing, specifically as it has to do with speaking on behalf of the party, the presidential campaign, and the campaign front so far. I know that you were right at the forefront, right in the mix of even in the senatorial. I know you've been at the forefront. So I leave the floor for you for just the minutes you can cover for us to benefit from your rich experience.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you. Well, the assignment is bumper, but let me take it from the angle of the presidential angle, or generally what we've been trying to do. For me, personally, I've been on the field campaigning, messaging, sending forth my message as per my desire to represent my people at the Senate, the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Now, my campaign has been tailored towards issues. What are the problems? Where do we find ourselves today as a nation, as a people, and what is one bringing into the equation to help to contribute one's quota towards improving on the national question of moving Nigeria forward. That again resonates with what the party in general has been doing at the national level, marketing our candidates to Rakin Adamawa, from our Waziri. It was made to Rakin a few days ago with the vice presidential candidate, His Excellency Okowa. Because I just heard the lady as she was rounding off, and I caught a few things. Now, our message as a party has been, okay, yeah, like it's been canvassed again and again that, yeah, we contributed as a party towards the rot where we find ourselves today. Yeah, we have said we made mistakes in the past. We have learned our lessons, and we believe that given the opportunity as a party, we certainly will do better this time around. And that we have a man who's experienced, a man who has been there, a man who has, when Nigeria actually made progress in terms of economic development, political development, fighting corruption and all that, our candidate has been there, making its contribution. And so we're telling Nigerians that given the opportunity again, we have the experience, we have the contact. Our candidate has the what it takes, coupled with the deputy vice, to be able to turn around the fortunes of the nation. Because as it were right now, we, like every other person in the country, we are not satisfied with where we are as a country. We must, I personally, I don't throw away the baby and the bathtub. Yes, the administration, the present administration is doing its level best to improve, but certainly I believe that they cannot give beyond what they have. And that is why I believe that the government of PDP, given the opportunity again, will do much better against the backdrop of the experience that we have garnered. So our campaign has been issue-based, but again, along the line, we've had to respond to the normal mudslinging in politics, which personally I don't accept, I don't believe in. And in the campaign that I ran until we ran into a judicial ambush a few days ago, has been on who I am as a person, what I've done in the past, and what I seek to do again, if given the opportunity to be a senator. For me, I believe that mudslinging, it's petty and it obfuscates the issues. What, for me, the issues as a country, restructuring, fighting corruption, economic development. These are issues, youth empowerment, infrastructural improvements. These are the issues that confront us. Security of the person's economic security, fiscal security. These are issues, very germane issues that as a party, we are trying to put there on the front burner. But again, like I said, now and again, we get distracted by some level of, mudslinging. But I must say something that I believe that we owe, any person who aspires to lead the people must be open to questioning, to scrutiny. And so it's not totally mudslinging, but there's a level of mudslinging when it goes beyond scrutinizing the person, scrutinizing what we are bringing on the table. So on the whole, that's in a nutshell what we've been doing as a party. I'm not a spokesman for the party, but I believe that as a party man, I should be able to defend my party any day, anytime. And so we have taken the message down, moving around the states, doing town hall meetings, doing strategic interaction, professional meeting, interactive professionals at different levels and different backgrounds, because the issues, they are not just commonplace. There are issues that are professionally, we have professional implications. And so that is the reason why we're having town hall engagements apart from the general campaign where you just engage the public, but strategically we have been meeting with, met with the private sectors and all that. Yes.
Distinguished Senator, by the grace of God,
yes.
the question we actually want to know is, in your campaign team, did you consider the need to have a public relations professional in your team or even your party? Would you say that your party takes that into consideration in appointing spokesperson?
I think that honestly, as an official policy, I don't, like I said, I can't speak for the party, but as an official policy, I don't think that has been done. However, Bob D, Dele Momodu in my own understanding, is a public relations practitioner and an advertisement guru, a publisher. He's in the team, and I think that maybe that is the role he's playing. Dino Melaye is not a public relations practitioner, in my own understanding, is there. Boala is a legal practitioner like myself, public commentator. But I believe that maybe we missed the mark of officially recognizing the need to have an official engagement with the Institute of Public Relations Practitioner. I cannot really,
you are perfectly correct, distinguished. You are perfectly correct. From the names you have called, there is no public relations practitioner there. And I really appreciate you for being very sincere and humble enough to say that I think there is a communication gap, not just with your party. It speaks to what is happening across. And I think this is why this engagement is important, because it's like you are in a car and there's a problem with the car. You don't know that one of the passengers in your car can actually fix the car. And you're hoping to go to the next place so you can get a mechanic. Meanwhile, you're carrying a bigger mechanic in your car. And I think this is the issue we are talking about. We want to thank you so much for joining in. We are running to the end now, so we will still...
Thank you very much, Honorable.
Thank you.
There are plenty of opportunity, like I've continued to say and repeat. We shall engage every one of you. This event will not end this way. It's a continuous engagement, and we wish you all the best in your next program. Thank you.
Can I quickly say something?
Yeah, go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Let me say that what you are doing is very important, and just like the last gentleman said, there is a disconnect, and again, it's part of the totality of the problem we find ourselves as a nation, where we don't seem to appreciate the need for professionalism, and that is responsible for some of the problems that confront us as a nation. But with engagement like this, one is reminded of the need for us to do the right thing, and that is the only way that the country can make progress. So I thank you very much, and I'm happy that I still was able to join, even if for a minute.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I always trust you, and I believe you will also, be available when next we call on you. By that time, all of you would have been in a relaxed mood in your respective offices. We shall come back to you again. Thank you very much, Honorable.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, have a great day. Thank you. Thank you.
Especially that when you get
go ahead, Professor.
When you get to the red chamber, we've already gotten one of the advocates that will implement the amendment to the NIPR law that some of the discussers are talking about. It's very old, and the punishment for some of the offenses is 1,000, some places 100 naira. We believe that, look at it.
That should be, I promise to make it one of the very first legislations that I will pursue.
Amen.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Honorable. Thank you.
So we'll return to the discussants. I think this is the time we will take Tolulukpe, your final 1 minute. Then we take Suleyawu. Then we take Professor one more. And if the PRCAN president is around, he can take 2 minutes. Let's go in that order, please.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think my final word would be that there is need for professionalism in the management of social media as well. While many people have given it to people who have large followings on social media, it's evident that there is still need for strategy in identifying how to engage people productively and ethically. And really the professionals who have that capacity to do that are public relations professionals. So the responsibility really for many of us as PR people would be to develop ourselves in that area so that we have a full view of the various platforms, how to use these platforms for clients and political office holders during elections and even when they're in office, so that they don't bring in people who are really influencers instead of public relations professionals. Thank you.
Thank you so much for talking about ethics. Really, really important. Professor Charles Okigbo Tolupe is our newest member of the public relations research team. I just thought I should mention that. Dr. Sule, please.
Yes, thank you very much, Prof. The discussion has been very well. Honestly, my last comment is that I want to appeal to the NIPR, APRA, and other regulatory agencies to please intervene for the sake of the country. Let's be mindful. Let's take interest in who become a spokesperson of these political parties and their candidates. Honestly, what we are seeing or what we are witnessing, yes, though this time around, foreign firms were not employed, so to say. But those manning the communication outfits certainly are not professional. How did it happen like that? Why are we silent? I remember the other time when we keep hammering on that, especially on 2015, when foreign firms were employed. I think that's one reason why, or that's more reason why parties now do not engage foreign firms, because of the way we speak out. So why shouldn't we speak out again? Most of the spokespersons of these political parties are not our members. They are not registered professionals. And that is why you keep hearing and seeing all kinds of comments, all kinds of statements, unprofessional one. And they are not helping matters as well as far as the candidates are concerned, because they themselves are not equipped. How could they guide their principals towards speaking in a better language? I think our effort will solve most of these problems. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You said most of the spokespersons are not registered public relations practitioners. I know you want to be safe as a scholar, but I want to ask you, do you know any political party that the spokesperson is a member of NIPR, sir?
No, I can't vote for any.
Okay, no. Thank you.
Thank you.
Charles Sanyago is a member.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
He's supposed to be here, but he's at the rally.
Yeah, actually, he spoke to me a while ago. He is presently in a rally. They are in a rally right now as we speak. In fact, he's been trying to come in, going back and forth. Himself and Otumba Ajiboye of APC, they are both in the presidential campaign. All of them, they are in the rally.
Your Excellency,
also,
Your
yes,
Excellency,
please.
I think
Yes,
if we
please.
can get them on phone as we go around, it would be good to also just get their understanding. So
Their view, yes,
them
very
through your
well.
microphone.
Very well. No
Yes.
problem.
Yes.
No problem.
So let's move on to Professor Angela, please. Professor Angela, are you still with us? Okay. It looks to me like this is the time we should be inviting the president of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations as co-host to give his closing remark. Then we would invite Dr. Masem Bamalu to give the vote of thanks before we take His Excellency, the Ambassador, as the other co-host to wrap it up. This also means that if in between His Excellency is able to get any of these spokespersons, we can still receive them for a minute or two on phone. Mr. President and IPR, sir.
Thank you, Prof, and thank you, everybody. It has been quite a wonderful time. It has been worth our while, and we've learned quite a lot. The only thing I want to urge all of us, like I said earlier in my opening remarks, is let this be the foundation of better things to come as far as this issue that we are discussing is concerned. We have heard from the experts, and all that is required of us now is to make more concerted efforts to ensure, to stop this country from continuing to be shortchanged, because there are experts in this field that can hold their head high anywhere, and a trial will convince our leaders. We should speak out, we should shout until they hear our voices. And as NIPR will continue to discharge our mandate, and especially the bit about ensuring that only licensed public relations practitioners are allowed to practice public relations in Nigeria. We'll continue to do our bit. Until the law is amended, it is still a law. And our governors, our leaders must realize that if you don't like a law, you don't bend it, you change it. It is a law, it is part of Nigerian laws, and our leaders must come clean as far as the application and upholding and compliance with that law is concerned. This is not just about ego. This is not just about the institute wanting to protect its own. It is about the institute wanting to protect the country by ensuring and by insisting and ensuring that the right thing is done. You don't ask me, for instance, to be the legal advisor to any political leader, because I cannot give what I don't have. In the same vein, you cannot advise anybody on communication if you don't know what communication is all about. We must stick to our own fields so that everybody plays their part in the right place, in the right way, and at the right time. So I want to thank all of us, particularly the discussants, for giving us value for our money. If there's something, if there's anything like that, there was no dull moment. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you, Mr. President. Of course, there was money. We paid for the data, and they have given us value. We appreciate that. So,
very true, very true.
Yes. At this point, I would ask again if the PRCAN president is in the house, or if Professor Angela is in the house, or Mr. Amadou Egbuna if you're in the house. We will be giving you 1 minute. Otherwise, I will now want to invite Dr. Marcel Bamalu of Prime Business. Of course, Prime Business is one of the partners of CONCE, Consortium of Nigerian Communication Experts. The same thing with the News Guru, and of course, the Strategic Global Incorporated. These are working with us alongside the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations. And I'm happy that the president of NIPR is not dropping off, and the council and the institute is not dropping off. So they will remain as our partners as we try to take upon more partners. And I think that we'll be going the way of ARCON and some other professional bodies very soon, as we have discussed in our earlier planning meeting. Dr. Mbamalo will give us the vote of thanks. Then we'll go to His Excellency, the Ambassador, who is our coordinator and co-chair for today's event, to give the final closing remarks.
Yeah, thank you very much, our able moderator, Professor Dandaura. I also want to say a big thank you to our convener who pulled everything and got us together. I can't also say enough of thanks to His Excellency, the Ambassador himself, Aminu, who has been toiling, working day and night to ensure that this happened. And of course, the NIPR president, who has led by example, is leading by example all through this program. You could see I so much enjoyed his presentation. And all the speakers here, who spoke here, what have we not learned today? It's very easy to give vote of thanks, just to say thank you for that, and to say that Prime Business Africa is very, very happy to be part of this, and we continue to be part of this. It aligns with our core value in development journalism, which speaks to the overall and multidimensional development and growth of country, Nigeria, and Africa as a whole. What have we not learned today? Starting with the very points raised by the NIPR president himself, when he talked about the nostalgia, we having always living in nostalgia as a country, almost in every facet of our life as a nation.
Dr. Mbamalo, sorry, please. I'd like to interrupt you. I'm very sorry. The general have been trying to get in. Okay. He's actually on the way, and he wants to apologize to the House for his inability to, because of other engagement that caught up with him. General, please go ahead. They'll be hearing you from my phone. Go ahead.
Okay. The chairman, very distinguished senior citizens of Nigeria. I'm on my way to the airport. Prior to this, I was at a place, a seminar where I was trying to train Nigeria's youth to get some leadership skills. I went to the hostel to pray for somebody, and I'm heading to the airport. So I'm unable to participate fully the way I had planned. I'm so sorry about it, and hope that my apology will be accepted. But I'm with you in the spirit. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah,
thank you, General.
Expected, General. General Pastor.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Well accepted.
Yes.
Thank you.
So back to my.
Thank you. Thank you, General.
I'm honored, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Go ahead, please. Go ahead, Balam.
Okay,
go ahead.
Sorry about that. Okay. So back to what I was saying. In conclusion, I was trying to say that we've learned so much today, especially on how public relations itself is life. My takeaways from this is life. The NIPR chairman of the president of NIPR said, talked about our nostalgia life, the way we have nostalgia in every aspect of our life, always having our yesterday better than our tomorrow. And it's because those who are in authority, those who are leading us, they don't understand the central essence of communication, both before, during, and even after office. Because for me, I believe that, our politicians themselves have abandoned PR. Actually, they just try to look for spokespersons. They abandon PR because they believe the Nigeria system, the electoral system in Nigeria is not transparent enough. It's by fire, by force. You can get to power through any means. So it's not just a consequence of an integrated communication process that you imbibe from beginning to the point of taking power and all through your period as president. And that is what is playing out here. All the speakers who spoke have identified that very aspect of hiring quacks to run professional lives of our leaders. And that's which we expect that here at Prime Minister Africa, we will offer ourselves to NIPR. Well, we are not offering ourselves completely. We will be available to partner with NIPR in getting some of these things resolved. In whatever way, as a newspaper, we can come in, we are available. We'll take up that discussion further with Dandaura, Professor Dandaura, on that. So conclusively, what I'm saying now is that PR being a kind of complete life, a total life. PR should be part of our life, family life, work life, office life, political life, and all of those. It's something that politicians will do before they get to power. It's something they do when they're in power. It's something they'll do when they're outside power, because on their way to power, they need to communicate their messages and get people to vote for them. And while in office, they need integrated PR to be able to communicate their policies and ensure that they give good governance. Outside the office, when they would have left office, they need to be able to defend the actions they took while they were in office. They need proper understanding of what they have done and probably stop their successors from rubbing mud on their work. So that explains why there is need for understanding of the essence of PR in political life of our politicians. But finally, on that score, I would say that the reason why it is getting difficult for our politicians to know that, because in Nigeria, we have a process that's more or less an emergency leadership. How do I mean? Emergency leadership in the sense that you have political parties over there in the US, you will find leaders who prepare to govern over a period of time, and they stay true to one political party for 10 years, 20 years, even 30 years before they emerge. Barack Obama, for example, it took him 2 years, or about 3 years actually, campaigning, preparing for the final process that made him emerge as the leader of the Democratic Party to contest election to become president. But here you see a politician jump from one party, take a ticket to the other party, and perhaps win election. So, but PR actually, if you want to govern a country, you would have begun to, prepare for it through an integrated public relations process that will make you acceptable to the people, and then get people to vote for you and keep the people remembering what you have done when you would have left office. So on the final note, I'm saying that this is a very, very, very informative session. And we at Prime Minister Africa, we are ready to continue to support it. And I thank everyone who has contributed here, our participants, marvelous speakers, our moderator, wonderful professor, our leaders, the convener himself, the one that prepared the meal, and then our very excellency, the ambassador himself. We are truly grateful, and we say we are not going to stop here, as our leader has said. We'll continue with this and probably invite you again before the second election. After the presidential election, we might have to invite you again to take stock of what happened and see what would happen going forward. So thank you very much. On behalf of the team, I say a very big thank you for being part of this epoch-making event. May God bless you all, and God bless Nigeria.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mbamalu. Of course, Professor Okigbo has directed that every member of the consortium should hallelujah and begin the process of becoming compliant with the NIPR law. So, Mr. President and Dr. Suleyao, don't be surprised when you see Dr. Marcel's form before you in preparation for induction.
He's welcome. He's welcome.
Yeah. So I want to, before I invite Ambassador for the last speech, let me thank the former registrar of NIPR, Dr. Malam, who has been in the house listening quietly and in his nature will not want to speak unless there is very serious need to speak. Of course, the acting registrar of the Institute, Kaide Yoku, we also want to recognize your presence. We thank you. Former council member and provost of Police School of Public Relations, CP Emmanuel Juku, retired. Thank you so much for being there. And all the council members that are in the house, we really appreciate. Professor Nuhu Gabsiso is a member of the consortium and indeed has been working with Professor Rotimi in ensuring that the minutes of this meeting are put together. But I also want to thank the head of the Public Relations Office in headquarters in Abuja, Tony Amoye. I can see that she is in the house with Chidema Awak, and I'm not very, I won't be surprised that their report of this meeting will also be ready very soon, since the registrar is also here. Thank you. Telma Oko is a council member. Your Excellency, this is the point where you should tell us thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor. I didn't know that, in fact, you are wearing so many caps. So I can see why you are selected to occupy this exotic position. And with all that you have done, we are grateful to you in a special way. I want to say one thing. I have continued to say this with emphasis. Nigeria is a great country. And there is nowhere in the world today that Nigeria is not making impact. I'm very proud of every Nigerian, every one of us that are out there, but anywhere they are, they stand out. In fact, there is a say that anywhere you go, you don't find in Nigeria, there, be careful. It means something is wrong there. And sometimes even when they come there, they make the difference. Thank you very much. And I want to thank every one of you. Every one of you have made great, wonderful, impactful, informative presentation. That was a very fantastic, I mean, it's highly revealing and impressive. I also want to appeal to all our presenters, including those who perhaps peradventure who ought to have presented something, to send us your material. We need them. We need them. We don't just want to stop in talking. We don't want to get involved with funfair. We want to go into the reality and see how we can solve this problem. I know how this is a burning issue for Professor Charles Okigbo Emeritus. I've known him for so many years, and I know him with a man with track record. He has never started any venture and abandoned midway. He has a track record of delivering, and I'm proud to be associated with him right from his days in AMCON when I was essay to the Minister for Information, Prince Tony Momo. I have enjoyed his style of work, and I can tell you with proofs attached to every step he takes, this will not fail. This will be one of his accomplishments, giving back to our nation. And I'm grateful to him especially because I call him at odd hours, odd time. He's ever awake, ever ready to respond to any issue that is burning. Anything we need to bring about solutions to Nigeria is ever ready and ever available. I want to assure you that God who has created you in Nigeria will preserve you and will continue to imbibe in you what is required to continue to give back to our nation. We are very proud of you, not just your accomplishment back home, or your accomplishment outside the world. Everywhere you step into, there are always reference points. There are always things you have left behind. And the reports are very encouraging, impressive. Every one of you here, I'm grateful. I can tell you, this team with this expert, with this robust contribution, even some of the things we have done in the background to get to this level. In fact, if I want to start calling names, I mean, we won't leave here because there are names, too many names to mention. I am very proud of working with every one of you. Brilliant contribution, brilliant, idea, wonderful interventions. Let me say one thing here. You know, you earlier mentioned Dr. Emmanuel Ojukwu, very wonderful, brilliant guy. I was a chairman last year of police service police events in Lagos. I chaired that occasion. It was a keynote. It was a keynote addressee who addressed us on that day. When he finished, I knew that this is another giant coming up. So we are going to join forces with all of these people. We identify them. We have them. We have them. We have them. And it is important. We must build bridges. We must build bridges. We have to build bridges. Building bridges across all sectors. There is no one who doesn't speak for either the family or institutions or country or state. I have said time without number. If a lawyer needs a license to practice, then a politician needs a license to practice. Then a spokesperson also needs a license to practice. And the method of sanction have to be, have to go across bar, irrespective of who is involved. You can't just because you know how to drive and just enter a car and drive anyhow on the street. When you are caught, they will penalize you and sanction you and fine you because you have no license. Therefore, in every venture and in everything we're involved in, we need a license. We need license. So some of our spokespersons, we need to get to the level of monitoring them, closely monitoring them and ensure that they are licensed to speak. And that is where these problems are coming from. And like I said, as I alluded to earlier on, even in creation was spoken into existence. So why do we now think that what we say does not matter? Why do we now think that we can just talk? Some of the talk that has happened in the past have taken lives, have claimed lives. In the rally that is going on now, the messages I'm receiving from there is ugly. It's not pleasant. These are Nigerians. These are great Nigerians. These are our leaders of tomorrow that we are killing with statements that are being unguarded statements, especially people of means, people that we all thought from afar are credible, who are privileged to take advantage in the public space to speak on behalf of an organization. People will believe you, even if you are lying. Because some people, in our setting, you say, look, that man with his age, he can't be lying. And this is very fundamental and this is very key. So please, we are going to collaborate with every one of you. As I said, I keep wanting to repeat this. This will not stop just only in talking. I can assure you, I'm very happy of the responses so far I have received personally of people we have reached out to who are willing and available to make available their tools, their resources to back us up, to ensure that we are going to monitor closely and train people, license them to speak for whoever they want to speak for. And those who are not licensed are sanctioned. Then that can serve as a deterrent to any other person. When you pick a microphone, you should be careful of the things you are saying and be careful of how you present it. It is true that what you are saying is important, but it's much more important where you are saying it. It's particularly important how you are saying it, how you are presenting it, irrespective of who you are. I'd like to thank everyone who have made today a success, the participants in particular. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your robust contribution. Thank you even much more to some of you who were not able to speak. We know what you carry. Referring to Dr. Emmanuel earlier on. We know what everybody carries, and we know how busy some of you are. We don't take your presence for granted. We can assure you, you'll be proud of what is going to come out thereafter. All of these interventions we are making, it will not end here. And we need your cooperation and your support. Thank you very much, distinguished colleagues, members, all the array of professors who are here, every one of us. we are now compelled to get ready.
Your Excellency,
sorry for that.
Thank
you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much indeed. It will not end here. There's a lot more to come. That is what your last statement is. And we do appreciate that indeed. We have come to the point where we should take the national anthem. And let me say that, or rather remind you, that in the opening speech, the convener mentioned that there are study groups. One of the groups is public relations. The second is print journalism. The third is broadcast journalism. The fourth is social media. The fifth is print and broadcast advertising. The sixth is outdoor advertising. And the seventh is communication effects. If you intend to join any of these groups, because you don't have to be a lecturer to belong. It's actually a forum for mentorship. It's a forum where we have cross-fertilization of ideas between those in the field and those in the academia. So just put your name in the chat box and indicate the group you want to join. The team leaders will reach you, and you will be part of the research team that Professor Ikigbo spoke about earlier. And by the way, when you talk about Professor Ikigbo, his track record, Your Excellency, he has since gone beyond a track. He is a Broadway. His record is a Broadway. May we now stand for the national?
Sorry, the photograph.
Yes, I have taken, but we can still take another one. Maybe members can. You need to announce. You need to announce for everyone to
put on their
camera. His camera.
Their camera.
There's need to have special announcement, and then of course,
yes,
so that we cannot have the.
We took when we are at the peak, but everybody can now put on your camera, so we at least have your face. Please, the IT team of the NIPR is at the background to help us take the screenshot. Rahim Adedoyin, Lade Sani, Wosui, please put on your camera so they can take that. Mr. President NIPR, are you still there? We need your camera on. Okay.
President NIPR.
Yes, we are still waiting. Thelma to put on her camera. Kaide Yekui Joma and do Tim Bisic. If you can put on your camera, that will be good. There is even a no name.
She deteriorated pretty quickly.
Okay, so we'll take the national anthem. If you can please rise, that will be helpful.
Yes, please.
Something there. So after that, like I said, she deteriorated quite quickly within 24 hours. And I remember the night before she died, and there was a lady who was next to me, and what she said to me was, you know, you're very lucky. And I said, look at her, I said, how am I lucky? And she said, okay.
Thank you very much, Your Excellencies, distinguished participants. We have come to where you can put on your microphone and just talk with whoever you want to exchange pleasantries with. The program has formally ended. We'll still be reaching you to let you know our next engagement. And one way you can help us is to leave your email address in the chat box, your WhatsApp number or your phone number. That will be helpful if you want to hear more from us. Let's also have names. If you want to serve in any of those things, your name, your WhatsApp number, and your email. You can see Dottie offering to be in the public relations. You are welcome. But help us put those details so that you can be added to the set. We have mailing lists.
Thank you very much. He said, Dr. Emmanuel is still there.
Thank you, Ambassador.
Thank you very much, Honorable.
Thank you.
Honorable, thank you very much for your sacrifice for our nation. We know your track record. We know your track record. We'll come back to you again. When we come back to you again, we need you. We need every one of you because we have to salvage this country, get rid of this country from all manner of, when people are not trained, you begin to see their error. So these people need to be trained. They need to be trained. And okay, you are a lawyer, apart from the fact that you have other vocation and all that, you know what it is. In law, you can't just wake up from the house and wear a wig and gown and go to the court. It's not possible. Nobody will allow it. The judge will not only arrest, order for your arrest, it will be contempt of court. So the same way we need it, exactly, or criminal. So the same way we need it, that everyone who is to speak for anyone, not just government, just political association, institutions, anywhere you are, you must be trained how to speak, when to speak, and what to say. When you are talking to a crowd, it's like somebody coming to your village now, pointing finger at you, washing you down in the presence of your people. Nobody will accept that. Nobody will accept that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank
We
you,
want
Excellency.
to make it short for people to just engage across board. But let me also mention to you, Excellency, that we have a forum of public relations professionals in the tertiary institution that is chaired by Sunday Ade Jolu. So they are also going to give us a report of what transpired today. But we'll be relying on Professor Rotimi Olatunji and Professor Gabsiso, Anuhu Gabsiso, to give us our official report. Thank you so much. We can just greet the house has closed, but it will remain, the Zoom house will remain open. You just talk across and take your exit at any time you want. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The note from Dr. Rotimi Oladele.
I have Dr. Tema here from Covenant University. I have Dr. Lade Sonny here.
Great.
School of Faculty of Communication and Media Studies in Information Science. I have Dr. Lade Tema Oko as his public relations as well. So, and also my other colleagues from my research group that have joined. In case you want to join us at that group, my name is Rotimi Olatunji. I'll put my name here or my phone number. You can also reach me. I want to salute Baba Adamalekun, my brother, who is in Canada now and has joined this meeting. You are welcome, sir. It's nice seeing you on this platform.
Dr. Wachuku, you have to come to the mainstream so that you can support the work. Dr. Wachuku has been in the public relations team since the 2019 study, and you should be available to give support to Professor Latinja and Professor Nuhu Gabsiso in our secretariat, please. Professor,
okay, sir.
Yes.
I'm still learning. I'm learning from the giants in the field.
Yeah, doing well and making us proud in the US. And so we should continue to also showcase you at home. Thank you so much indeed.
And I need to officially register for NIPR also.
Of course, you are on the list of those that will be presented to Dr. Suleyahu as chairman membership for screening and possible induction. I can also see Dr. Cecile Egwelegwe of University of NTA. You're welcome, ma.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes. Sunday Ademi, I kindly confirm that your team is, we're getting a report. And Sunday, yeah. Confirm that we're getting a report from your team as expected. Professor Nuhu, well done, though.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. We are grateful.
All right, thank you, professors. I take my leave.
Yes, you are just about to enjoy your day. And
My day is just starting.
We are beginning to wind down.
Okay, Prof.
Nice to
I'm leaving now.
Thank you.
It was a wonderful outing.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Prof. and my brother.
Yeah.
Thank you,
You're
sir.
welcome.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome. Bye.
Thanks so
Bye-bye.
much for the collection.
Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Rest well. Enjoy your weekend.
Mamalo, thank you.
Okay.
Mamalo, thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.